and then we'll do a quick recap. So last time we played B team. A couple of things happened. So you guys are generally speaking, you are going to Bresk in the company of the commander of a group of Talons, which are sort of the King Steppengard's newly formed secret police. Only they're not that secret, so just general police. But they have a great deal of latitude, and they are, at least the ones you've met, are in large part tasked with sort of finding people who may be involved in the deaths of his family, various members of his family, and trying to bring them to justice. And that's how you encountered these guys. Was they were fighting several halflings that they were trying to take back into, take back to Bresk to face questioning and potentially trial over their involvement in what may be the deaths of the thing. But as everybody recognizes, that King Steppengard is growing increasingly paranoid about all these things. So the Talons have been operating largely without oversight, and in some ways quite punitively, as you guys discovered as you were coming to this, as you're on the road. So you were about a day and a half, 2 days, when you discovered something quite grim on the way to Bresk, which was these four dead men frozen standing up in a lake. One of them had been hung. The others had been shot with crossbow bolts, largely in the back. You guys did a great deal of stuff. So, there was a couple of things you found out. But largely based on Poe doing a speak with dead on the man who had been hung, he basically learned that these guys were a group of people who were in the service of Lady Dane. And they had been ordered by her to leave Bresk, go to Magadon's castle, and then go the rest of the way to Lady Dane's castle in a different part of the Bandu Hills. As they were leaving, they were overtaken by a group of Talons underneath the command of a dwarf named Osmuk, who was at one point, before he joined the Talons, and not very long ago, was a member of the sort of Bresk constabulary, and not a very distinguished one. But in this case, a group of Talons had overtaken them. They were suspected of being involved in the murder of the king, and they began to be questioned. They said, look, paranoia is starting to run rampant in the city, and we decided it was, and when Lady Dane told us to go and go to Dashkaban's and then go to her castle, we didn't think anything of it, and frankly, we were glad to go. But these guys overtook us. They questioned us, and then they executed us when we told them that we had no involvement in the poisoning of the king's family. They didn't believe us, and they thought that they could extract confessions from us. And when that was not forthcoming, essentially they tried to get the one guy who to talk by frankly executing his friends just to make him talk. And then when that didn't work, they hung him, and later the bodies froze in this frozen lake underneath. Titus did did some research, and definitely there would be some spells that that would have enhanced these interrogations and created the tableau that you see before you now. Also, the bolts that were found were of dwarven manufacture, and the commander of the Talon group that you guys are traveling with came to Arendar privately and basically said, "Look, I don't want to speak out of turn, but those are Talon bolts." And this was before you guys did the speak with dead, but which only confirmed what we're saying. And the guy was like, "Look, not all Talon groups are like this, but we're largely without oversight. And there's a continuum of what Talon squads are willing to do to try and extract confessions from people that they think may be guilty of something or involvement in the king's thing." So he's like, "Look, I'm not one of these kind of people. I believe in the law. I believe in the king. I'm not willing engage in wholesale war crimes to try and make myself look good and try and solve a case. But basically he confirmed that was the case. So you found these guys. Then you began continuing and traveling towards Bresk, and you came upon this tableau where essentially you have a bunch of people, these guys here, who were running down the pathway through these trees, screaming that something was after them. You guys had sort of come up upon them, and out of the trees came this creature, stumbling and trying to attack this creature here. Now, in the course of 2 rounds, a lot of bad things happen to this creature. So first out of the gate, Vondram cast glitter dust on its eyes, blinded it. Several people shot it with arrows. The next thing, Vondram on the next round did that shifting sands underneath it, so it was entangled. Titus cast web on it, so now it's webbed, and it tried to move through the web and failed that. So there's
we almost feel bad for the creature.
You almost feel bad for him, and in addition, and his last tried to move through the web, burning it off with the radiating heat that exists on the thing. He's already got some of the web is melting away and sort of pulling away from him, but it wasn't enough to keep him from knocking himself prone as a blind creature trying to stumble through these webs. So now you've got basically a Remorhaz who is webbed, blind, entangled, and prone. And sort of like, on the ground there as Arendar and Wraith begin to move forward with that look in their eye that they get right before they really ruin somebody's day.
That's kind of a normal look for us.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's where I haven't heard back from Gordon or Jennifer yet. Hold on a second. Let me check the mails. No, nothing. So, and nothing back from a text. So I don't know where they are. Maybe they've got some internet. So we're going to just delete them off of the screen here and take away all their stuff. All right. So, that being the case, we sort of jump in Bellis Res here as we go into round 3 of this battle with the this Remorhaz that seems to have come out of nowhere. Any questions before we get started? I'm looking for the list of spells, and this is what I have. I have energy resistance fire on Ono. I think that's it.
Sounds right.
All right,
questions. He was going to close with it and boot to the head, so he kind of had to have the.
That's right. He was going to punch a Remorhaz, which I think is a fantastic idea, personally.
I think it's a great idea as long as I'm not doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, as long as other people are not doing it, it's an awesome idea. All right. So, other questions before we jump right in? All right. Hearing none, Titus, you are up. Round 3. It's in your web. It's burning it away. So Remorhazes have these plates on the back, almost like Stegosaurus plates, and they glow redly and they radiate heat. You're pretty far away, but Wraith, you're probably the closest besides Ono, and you could feel the heat coming off of them. I mean, you could see these plates glowing on the back of it.
So I think it was Poe that described it to us. What do I using message? Mm-hmm. So I guess, do I know anything more about it? Any of its weaknesses? Or I can't recall what all he shared.
So he shared that so it has a couple of things. One, they're largely immune to both fire and cold due to the fact that they sort of inhabit this weird sort of strange area between the two, where they love to live in cold climates, but they also radiate a tremendous amount of heat. Depending on whether it becomes enraged or not, and looking at this creature, you could only suspect that it's easily enraged at this point. It generates a lot of heat. You can see those plates on its back are glowing redly as the thing. Getting close to it might be troublesome. Punching it might be troublesome. Certainly would be troublesome. It has been known to swallow creatures whole. It is a large creature, and will gulp down its food, especially food that it comes across in the wilds in one gulp. So that is a danger as well.
Didn't they say that it's already eaten a few people?
They did, yeah. They did say that it had eaten a couple of stragglers.
Okay. All right.
And do I know if it's evil?
It's probably not evil. I mean, generally
it's neutral.
It's a magical beast, and there's no, it's not unusual for magical beasts to be evil. But in this case, it's more animal than anything else. Yeah, and so your guess is that it's neutral.
Okay.
So just as much damage as you can throw at it, and we need to drop this thing as fast as possible.
Okay.
But yeah, it can't be fire or cold damage because it's.
I kind of figured that.
Good parlay.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
What you mean, like wager?
It speaks giant. Maybe you can talk to it.
Oh, it does.
Hello, blind. Hello, Ramirez. I'm sorry we have blinded you.
Can I talk to it and still cast a spell if I don't like its answer?
Well, so here's the tricky part. So naturalists suggest that because of where it lives, that it will sometimes allies too strong a word, but it will sometimes work with frost giants because they inhabit the same areas, right? It's doubtful that these things have ever been tamed in the sense of the word, but there will be on occasion you've heard tales of frost giants working with remorazes in the field. It is believed that they can speak giant, that they can understand giant, but they definitely cannot speak it.
Gotcha.
They don't have the requisite hardware.
The tongue and the mouth, and I can speak giant. I can speak this thing.
It's like dog, for example, right? There are some dogs that obviously understand some English, but they can't speak it.
So yell at it, bad Ramirez, and see if he
bad Ramirez.
See if he goes
are bad.
See if he cowers or goes.
I don't speak any giant.
All right, well,
draconic.
No, it's not a dragon. It's a magical beast. It's
but it's got fire, so who knows?
Yeah.
Well, in that case,
it doesn't breathe fire. It has this So one of the reasons, from a natural standpoint, one of the reasons that the Remoraz is able to survive in extraordinarily cold temperatures is that it has this sort of magical fire core that keeps it heated, essentially, in the face of it. A lot of cold weather creatures are immune to cold because of their physiology, right? They just don't need to have heat. In this case, this is a creature that requires heat, but it generates so much of it that it has these ventilation vents, these stegosaurus-looking things on the back that vent the excess heat because it has so much. The trade-off on that, from a biological standpoint, is that it has to eat a lot to generate that kind of heat. So their Remorazes are known to be hungry all the time, as opposed to Eddie Murphy, who's known to be partying all the time.
Right. Different kind of creature. Just as dangerous, but just a different one.
Exactly. Just as dangerous, different environment.
Okay. I'm going to move up behind Wraith, and I'm going to cast Enfeeblement on the bugger.
Ooh, Enfeeblement. All right. So we're just stacking up the conditions on this poor thing. All right. So that is a ray, correct? A ray of enfeeblement? Excellent. A coruscating ray springs from your hand. All right. You must succeed on a ranged touch attack to strike the target with your ray. And keep in mind that if it had a dex,
It's gone.
Whatever that dex might have been, might have been 15 seconds ago, it's largely disappeared at this point. He's webbed, he's blind, he's entangled in the sand, he's prone.
So my guess is you've got to get about a 5.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I can tell you what his range touch attack is. Range touch. So, it's a 6. 6 AC 6.
Wow.
Okay.
So yeah, roll and get a 6 or better.
Roll a 1.
When you add your base attack, which should be probably 6 or 7 currently.
Roll a 1 and hit Wraith.
Okay. What is that? CMB?
No, it's a roll to attack.
Yeah, it's a regular. It's a regular ranged attack roll.
Okay, so just a D20.
Yep.
D20
and your range attack bonus.
You probably got a 3 for base and probably at least a 3 because you probably got at least a 16 dex.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So
yeah, I've got a plus 4 to dex.
I think you've got this.
So plus 7 because I've got plus 4 to dex, plus 3 to CMB.
No, you don't add your CMB in there.
Right.
Oh.
You'd add your base attack.
I'm sorry. After all these years, where's
your base attack bonus? I don't know that. I'm not sure about the sheet you use.
I'm using Hero Lab.
It's going to be rolling out of 7, so basically just don't roll a 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't roll 1.
Don't roll
All
a
right,
1.
well, I'm adding.
Here it comes. I'm
4.
feeling it now. I'm feeling a 1 now. Oh, 19. All right, yeah. The ray comes out of your hands like, and just slams into this creature's chest. What level are you? 6 or 7?
7.
7. So Ravenfieldment does 1d6 plus 1 per 2 caster level. So you have 6. So 1d6 plus 3 strength penalty, strength damage. Yeah. Gotta just take a look at his strength for us.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, so 8 points of strength damage.
So you away from this 2 hit and damage.
So you see, as you were doing this, the creature was trying to get. Obviously, it was knocked prone because it tried to move through the webs and tripped and fell. It was trying to lift itself back up on its many centipede-like legs. But as the ray hits it, and you could see the magic sort of permeating the creature, it collapses back down onto the ground as its many legs sort of give out underneath it, and you can hear it's like boom into the snow, and you hear it sort of making a sort of a mewling noise as it's trying to get these legs back underneath it and not having much luck.
Nice job.
All right, nice job. All right. These guys come rocking out through here and behind Ono. They're basically turning for another pass. So they went behind it and stabbed it with lances. And now they are they're coming around because they're horsed. It's a little different. So they're coming around this way.
Spain or Mexico? What is this, a bullfight?
It is a bullfight, kind of. So it looks like they're trying to keep out of the way, but your guess is that their path is going to be based on what they've essentially done before. Your guess is that their path would probably be like this again. Can you see that?
Oh, okay.
They're basically going around there and just they're doing another pass.
Yeah, I've kind of waved them off and told them not to approach it too close because it'll hurt them.
Yeah, you yelled out, "Be careful!" and they were like, "We got this!" And they came around behind it and stabbed it with lances, and then just sort of like drive-by attacked it, kind of thing. So they're whirling back around for another drive-by, and you can hear the commander yelling at these people as they ride past. Back away! Back away! Stay away from the creature! Wraith, you're up.
I'm gonna do a 5-foot step.
Okay.
And I believe that puts me within 30 feet of the creature.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So then I'm gonna do a bow attack.
Okay.
And
Now
this is
keep in mind it's prone, so it's you're at -4, I believe.
right.
But it's
So
also blind.
blind and
and held.
flat-footed and held, and the first one's a potential crit,
Oh God.
My gosh, it is.
and the second one's a 24.
24 will easily hit it in its current condition.
Okay, I'm gonna
So
roll the first attack again. 26.
that's a confirmed crit.
That's a confirmed crit. You want the chart or you want the triple dam?
Let's see. So 5 damage, 6 damage because it's within 30 feet.
Okay.
You get
I
your
get-
sneak attack because it's held.
So 8 plus 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
I
14.
take triple damage. Man, that's gonna be a ton of damage.
14. I'll take triple damage. So that's 14 damage, triple,
Tripled would be 42
42.
plus 2 bleed.
plus 2 bleed. All right, so 42 damage.
Dang,
That
dude.
is that it for both your arrows?
No, that's the first arrow.
That's the first
That's the
arrow.
first arrow?
The second arrow is 20
To hit or damage?
Damage.
to damage. It's 9 plus 1 because of proximity plus sneak attack. So 20
Gotcha.
points.
All right, so that one hits it in the eye, and you can hear it snuffling and snorting as it, you can see it can't stand up. It's trying to stand up, and it collapses onto the ground. There's a lot of this sort of white, milky-looking fluid pouring out of both the eye and the other wounds that it has, because you put arrows in it last round as well.
Right.
So those arrow wounds are bleeding, and the bleed that you've delivered to it, that might looks like you hit maybe one of its pumps, because there's like sort of like an arterial sort of heartbeat of this milky white liquid coming out of it, and it sort of like shudders. It shudders and sort of kneels on the ground.
Wait,
And it's not moving. You think it may be still alive, but it's not moving. What was your question, Andrew?
you answered it. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Nicely done, dude.
Here,
I
here.
thank you. And nobody needs to risk themselves.
Speech.
I figured
Great shot. Great shot.
as injured as it is, it's got 2 bleed. That's going to last for a little bit. So
Yeah. As you watch it, you sort of hear it groan a couple of times, and it makes a bit of a mewling sound, and it continues to, I know, right? It continues to make a it obviously is. So Wraith, as you and Titus are sort of watching it. It continues to get weaker and weaker. That the flood of this milky liquid coming out of out of the arrow wound begins to slow. The glurts of it begin to come less frequently, and finally it just lets out a sigh, and its head just sort of lolls backward onto the ground. And at this point you begin to see the Stegosaurus-like plates on the back begin to cool. In this cold air, you can see that it begins to get this sort of blackness around the edges, and you can see sort of it creeps as the temperature drops, and soon there's only a little bit of yellow at the very core of the plates, and then even that's out in less than a minute.
okay.
Does anyone else want his penis? Or is this? Oh, wrong game.
Yeah, wrong game, and we have little people.
Oh, good thing I didn't say a bad word.
Dr. Wagner in the house. All right, so we fall out of initiative at that point. The people are sort of mulling around because, frankly, their headlong escape, once you guys stepped in, became a gawk fest, right? So they were watching the battle. It's very rare that you get to see people destroy a Remoraz inside of 25 to 30 seconds. And so they're sort of just like milling around right now. And these Talon guys now have sort of gone over to them, and they're ascertaining whether they're okay. And you can hear some questions being asked and that kind of stuff. And they're talking to them.
Yeah, I think we'd probably all be, once it's dead, we'd probably all be go checking on him. I know Poe's not technically here, but he would be doing that definitely. Making sure everybody's all right. So
just to see if they're wounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's not, I mean, they're a little bit tired, certainly frightened, and coming down from that. So you can see several of them will sit down in the snow. You know how it is when you're afraid for your life, and then that fear goes away and the adrenaline sort of leaches out of your body, and you're
Mhm.
just like, I'm gonna sit down just for a moment, kind of thing.
I'm gonna lay down here for a
I'm
little
just
bit.
gonna sit down for a second. But several people are sitting down, essentially. But ultimately, if you take a moment to sort of walk through them and check them out, they're largely in good health. They have packs on. There are obvious families, that kind of thing. You see both dwarves and men, although no other races. Uh, and largely they're in good health. Some of them even have like plenty of food, and you can see that they're carrying, big packs of clothing. They're
Where are they
well
going?
dressed. They're well dressed. Well, what they
I'd
say.
be talking with them, ask and say, what are you guys doing out here? Where are you guys headed? Or
Well, basically, what they'll say is, it's gotten to a point in Bresk that not only are they trying to get out of Bresk, they're trying to get out of the Bandu Hills and go down into the valley. Some of them have mentioned going to Sequin. Some of them have mentioned going into the hills to the north. Some of them have mentioned joining the Mwangi in the south. It's just gotten, and so they're a little leery about the commander and those guys, but they are treating them very professionally and not, really harassing them, although they are asking them questions as well. But basically they're like, look, things in Bresk have
crazy?
gotten worse. And even over the last few days, we've seen arbitrary arrests. We've seen a lot of newly formed Talon squads out on the street conducting surveillance, being repressive. They operate, without any legal authority, which the commander that you guys have been traveling with, he seems
Mhm.
he's not happy about that.
Mhm.
And he's not happy that his guys are hearing this either. So it's there's no way that he could. I mean, both of his lieutenants, they've all dismounted at this point, and they're sort of wandering through, talking to people and that kind of stuff. But his lieutenants are basically hearing this. He's tried to shield them from it,
Right.
if only to keep control. And it's nothing. They're like, there's been some, and so one old guy will tell you there's been, purges that have taken place, and another guy will say that's just a rumor. You don't know that for sure. He's like, I know several people who've disappeared off the streets, that kind of thing. There's, because of the Talon's sort of secret police-like effort, there's been a rise of informants and people being, people exercising grudges by use of the cops, right? So the idea of, like, if you have a secret police, you don't like somebody, or somebody's interfering with you at work, or you don't get along with them, and you just rat them out to the secret police, right? It's like the Stasi.
Right.
And then they get interrogated. Suddenly their name's on a list, that kind of thing. And these people were just saying, look, it was time for us to leave. We, several of the families say, I have, one family says, I have people in Sequin. Another says, I was a merchant. I work with the Mwangi. I'm sure that they would take me and my family in, that kind of stuff.
I'll tell the ones that I talk to that Sequin works, and we can give you contact names.
Okay.
Not only in Sequin, but we
In
can.
refugee camps.
Go see Vortbert.
We wouldn't give them
He's
that
our
name.
buddy.
Anyway, we can do that, and we can also tell them to skirt north. And if you run into any of the elves, you can use our name with whatever the princess's name is or whatever, to let them know.
Leosha, yeah. Shilosha.
Yeah, drop her name with ours, that you're just trying to go there, and can't guarantee it safety, but it couldn't hurt.
Yep. Okay. Several of them are going to places within the Bandu Hills. So probably half are headed for like Sequin Mwangi. Like, we got to get out. Another half are saying, look, my family has always worked for Lord Gallo, right? And so, I'm going to Gallo. I'm going to Gallifrey. My sons both work for, are in the service of Dashgaban, Lord Dashgaban. I'm going there to meet up with them, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So basically, by and large, they're saying, look, as the crease grows, as the king grows increasingly paranoid, as his Talon squads become more numerous and more onerous, life in Bresk has started to become an issue for people, and they're saying, look, I'm going to get out until things calm down and then I'll go back or whatever, that kind of stuff. You don't get the impression that this is a part of a mass exodus, but there's a fair amount of people here. I mean, there's like 40 people here. So, and they're largely people, you find out as you talk to them that they're largely people from similar neighborhoods, that they banded together for safety. Now, there was several people who were eaten by the Remores, and that kind of thing, which is why they were running. But that's essentially the reason that they give you guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's some perfunctory questioning by the lieutenants and the commander about, do you know anything about this? Do you know anybody? The kind of standard question. Do you know who killed the king's family? Do you know anybody who does know who killed the king's family? Have you yourself heard any information about the king's? It's like a little list they have. But everybody's like, no, we don't know anything. We're just trying to get to safety, and even worse when you start to talk about things, you hear people talking about, you hear a couple of people talk about, well, I worked for the courts, and suddenly we have a lot of Sargavans in town, that kind of thing. I worked in the Ministry of Justice, and the Sargavans, basically, there's a couple of people who worked in like higher level jobs, and they say things about the Sargavans like it's only a matter of time before they get leave to come through the Elite Pass. And they're like, yeah, the Sargavans are really sort of like taking over. That stupid ambassador, he's the worst, that kind of thing. They definitely don't have any love for the Sargavans, but it's the part that you find more interesting is the idea that the Sargavans, not only are they exercising what seems to be more influence in court, and I mean court in the kingly sense, not in the judicial sense, but they're also, these people are talking about the Sargavans coming through the Elite Pass as if it is sort of like a done deal, or maybe it's like fait accompli kind of thing.
It seems like they're doing the same thing here. They did the gate pass. They kind of infiltrate, kind of take over, and then
it worked before,
and then defeat it from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So
it worked before.
Can I see the leader of the Talons?
Like, can you see what he looks like?
No, I mean from like wherever I've moved to, because this is all sort of not.
Oh yeah, I assume that you guys have all sort of moved in closer, or like standing around by the people.
So can I see his reaction to these people saying this and judge by any questions that he asks? Do a sense motive?
Yeah, absolutely.
18.
Having spent a couple of days with this guy now, and your brother has talked with him fairly extensively, and you've been party to those conversations as well. Your guess is that he's a combination of disappointed and horrified. I think the disappointment is, your guess is that the disappointment he's experiencing is largely on behalf of his now organization, right? These Talons, which you get the impression that he joined these guys. One thing that he's never wavered on is his loyalty to the king. I've worked in the king's constables for 25 years. This is what the guy said. I've never, and I've, his loyalty is absolute. And so he jumped at the chance, and he would have told you this before. He jumped at the chance to join the Talons to find out who would do such a thing to his beloved king. But now it seems like that the whole idea behind the formation of the Talons has been perverted somehow. Horrified is when he hears these people, and you get the impression from him that he obviously thinks that these people have nothing to do with anything criminal. But to hear them talking about repression and arbitrary arrests and
random disappearances
and rumors of purges and informants, that kind of thing, and officials being purged and things like that, and just a general sense of paranoia among these people. You feel like he's horrified that so quickly that the situation as Bresk has turned into a thing. It's the old kind of thing that they say, everybody's everybody's 3 missed meals away from barbarism.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. I think he's shocked, and the impression you get is that the more he talks to these people, the more shocked and horrified he is to hear their stories about what has been happening in Bresk in the last. He's been in the field what, 4 days, 5 days, less than a week, and suddenly the Bresk that he knows or knew for decades has changed fundamentally, all because of this horrifying attack on the King's family.
So I
We're
assume
all-
we'll eventually get back on the road heading to where we're going and let these guys go. Once
Let him
that
go.
happens-
Yeah, I mean, the commander will instruct some of his guys to sort of take names and that kind of stuff and say, and try, and they do a quick sort of like, where are you going? And, that kind of thing. There's also, you have to give them credit. There's also a kind of thing they go through and say, do you have enough supplies, to get where you're going? If you're going to Sequin, that's weeks away. Do you have enough stuff? And in certain cases, they're saying, if you need more supplies, at least one of the lieutenants has basically emptied his saddlebags for these people and sort of giving the things. So you're starting to think maybe these guys aren't the worst constables that you could have run into. They seem like decent enough fellas.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's okay. So you continue on
Well,
traveling.
I'm saying, as we start, and
Okay.
probably Wraith might be involved in this too. But I definitely want to pull the commander aside away from his people and just let him know this kind of stuff that you're seeing right now. This is the stuff we've suspected and why we're here. But we've suspected this kind of stuff from the Sargovans all along, and basically telling the story about
What happened at Gate
we're doing
Pass?
right here. This is exactly what happened to us in Gate Pass.
So he's like, we hear all kinds of things about what happened in Gate Pass. Because keep in mind, this has only been a couple of months ago,
Right.
that this happened to Gate Pass. When all of a sudden suddenly we went from normal day to we're at war with Sargava, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So he'll admit that a lot of what they heard out of Gate Pass didn't make a lot of sense, right? So there was a whole contingent of people in Bresk who were basically saying Gate Pass sided with the Sargavans and welcomed them with open arms, which he didn't think. He's been to Gate Pass on several occasions, not recently, but on several occasions. And if there was one thing that he knew about the Gate Pass, the people who live in Gate Pass, is that they are fierce about their independence, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that Gate Pass just simply capitulated and gave the Sargavans the key to the gates he found that to be ridiculous. But there was a lot of people who were talking about that.
Right.
There also was people who were talking about that it was absolute butchery going on, and that it was a Sargavan slaughter. And he's thinking, you know what? I always assumed the reality was somewhere in the middle. But he would listen intently to the things that if you're willing to tell him some stories about
So
this.
yeah, Ray, obviously our whole party was there, but we pretty much tell him the truth of what happened and say, look, we're here, one,
I'm listening.
to do well by your king because we need him on our side. But you see in this, you need to understand this is exactly what happened to us in Gate Pass, and it's happening to you guys right now. And we're here to stop that for multiple reasons. Just being up front. Up front is we don't like Sargavans, so we'll obviously get to that. But the other is
okay.
We want him to be safe and be normal because we don't want him to let Sargavan come through because they'll wipe all of us out. And then guess what? They're not going to stop there. Once they have a nice foothold over there and the Bandu Hills are the only thing left, guess who's next?
Yeah, and he you could sort of see him almost sort of like he's nodding, he's agreeing. You could almost see sort of his opinions begin to change. He's like, look, I've dealt with Sargavans. Some of them were great. Most of them were not as great.
Yeah.
He goes, they're rapacious, they're duplicitous. He goes, they don't exhibit, frankly, good qualities of the same kind that the people of the Bandu Hills have always appreciated. And I've limited my time with them. Knowing what, hearing, he's like, look, this is the first time I've heard from an eyewitness from Gate Pass as to what went down there. And he's like, it absolutely smells like the same kind of thing. what's going on here. He goes, look, I'm just a constable, right? I
Right.
walk a beat until I joined until I got, brought into the Talons. I walk a beat. I investigate local crimes on, in my in my half a square mile area. That
Right.
was me and my guys' job, right? That was, and most of there are a few Sargovans that live in that area, and by and large, they're fine people. I never had any problem to question him. He goes, look, I dislike politics as much as anybody.
Mhm.
But yeah, the way you tell it, it makes sense what
And
you're
so
describing.
I let him know the reason I'm telling you this is because when we get back, without tooting our own horn,
Hmm.
we're a competent group here. We'd love to help you, and if we can assist you, especially having you part of the organization, and you having us that I mean, granted, the Talons don't follow rules right now anyway, but
Hmm.
having us to help you get to the bottom of this, we can help each other out, all in the good name of helping your king out, which I know you're 110%. That's your goal.
Well, and he knows that you guys are accompanying Balin, who is essentially the ambassador of our portfolio from Sequin. And he's like, look, Balin is known to us. He's spoken in front of our king many times. That kind of thing. I'm assuming, you guys don't strike me as the as the typical bodyguard, but yeah, you get from him that he believes you when you say, look, we're trying to help here. Based on what happened with the halflings and what happened here, and some of the things that you guys have done. He gets that, and you get the impression from him that he's trying to do the same thing with his guys from his point of view.
Right.
Basically, he's already said, "Look, I got it when we get to Bresk tomorrow." He
Mhm.
goes, "I have to take these halflings into detainment, and they will be interrogated." He goes, "I will be present for this, and I will make sure that they are treated fairly and equitably, and that they know the thing. I will have to file a report in which your names will be mentioned." But
Mhm.
it will be fair, and it will contain the context of these kind of things. So yeah, you don't. He goes, look, I believe you. I think that you're on our side. I think you're on the king's side, and I think that's a good thing. But he goes, ultimately, your Balin is going to is supposed to speak to our king about the situation in Sequin, and he goes, I have no control over that. He goes,
Right.
I'm just a cop.
Right. But I'm just letting you know we can help you. Um, we can help you get to the bottom of this as quickly as possible. So this crap that's going on in your city that's making it not like it used to be, hopefully can get back to a more normal, I guess, way of life as fast as possible.
When you say that, he looks at you and he's like, "It's all I wish. I wish this whole thing. He goes, I really dislike the Sargavas for starting this because it's fracturing. You get the impression from this guy that one of the things, I mean, he'll come out and flat out say it. He's like, one of the reasons I became a cop was because I want things to go well, right? I want there to be peace. I want people to be able to live out their lives in the way that they do. I want commerce to continue. I want people to be happy. This is the reason that I became a constable in Bresk. Is because that would put me in a position to help to make that happen for people."
Mhm.
He goes, everything is so topsy turvy, and now we have all this stuff that's happening in Bresk. He goes, honestly, I don't know that it's fixable. He goes, you guys seem very competent, and hopefully your man Balin will protect your city. When he talks about your city, he's talking about Sequin.
Right. Right.
He's like, hopefully your man Balin will get the job done. But the reality is, I don't. The Bresk I see and hear about now is not the Bresk I know.
Right.
He's not the Bresk I've worked for the last. The king that I hear about is not the king that I've devoted my professional life to for the last 2 decades plus.
Mhm.
So he's really sort of confused. I mean, to Wraith your point with the sense motives, and he's disappointed, he's horrified, but he's also confused because he's like, how did things change so quickly? It's like, what happened? And he's just like, I don't understand what's going on. But we're gonna get to Bresk tomorrow, and he goes, look, I'll be able to deliver my report, and maybe I can do something.
Right. And like I said, I don't expect this to go one way. If we can help you in your investigation, or if you're keeping the peace, or if you're finding out who did this, those goals align. We're in this to help you guys, because if we find what I think we're gonna find, that's gonna help all of us out.
He's like I appreciate that. The more people that we have on the side of the king, and on the side of law, and on the side of right, the better chance we have.
Okay, that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Okay. Anybody else want to question the people before they go, or talk to the lieutenants or the commander or anything like that?
Not the one with no diplomacy.
Come on, get in there. Get in there and roll that +0 diplomacy like you mean it.
And undo everything Mike has tried to do for the last 4 sessions. No thanks.
You sure? It's
Positive.
an opportunity. All right. All right. So you guys continue to travel on. The people go, the group of people go in the opposite direction, but they're newly calmed for most part. I mean, you know, the guys have been handing out food and that kind of stuff, and I assume you do the same. I mean, you'll see the lieutenants are sort of handing out what's left in their saddlebags to these people and making sure that they have, you know, what they need. And even on one case, that one guy hands out a saddle blanket. You know, wraps it around the shoulders of a kid who might be 11 years old or 12 years old, that kind of thing. They do seem to be caring for these people, and you guys eventually kind of split ways. You camp that night, get an early start the next morning, and it's not very long, about mid-morning, when you begin to see, when the commander sort of pulls aside with you guys and basically says, "There's my city." And he points in the distance, and you can see up in the top, the highest portions of the mountains, your first look at the city of Bresk. So a couple of things about Bresk. It is essentially an inside city, right? So this castle-looking thing is built into the side of one of the tallest mountains in the thing. And as you say, the commandant would say, look, there's a large outside area that's sort of like almost a keep. This is the front walls, and you look at this thing and you're like, damn, you could defend, you know, a token army could defend this forever. It's a little Helm's Deepy, for lack of a better term, because it's obviously this is a dwarven place, and they have built it in the manner that they would have built their, you know, that dwarves have historically built their great underground fortresses.
Yeah, the only thing it's missing is the giant canoe for the crazy ass king to run down and jump off.
Nice. But yeah, so you've got and so there's this large, as you guys approach, you guys are still a little ways off, but as you approach, you see a lot of people sort of out front. There's a huge sort of out front area of this town, of the city. And there are people drilling, there are vendors, there are people everywhere just sort of wandering around. And you get the impression that a lot of activity takes place outside of the main doors of the castle, of the city. You know, there's a large sort of area. There's obviously, you know, there's over here you can see that there's a park with pine trees. There are large buildings, and then smaller sort of little hovels. There are soldiers, dwarf and human, drilling, you know, in the thing. And you also see, as you pass by, what looks to be you can't mistake it. It's the red and black of Cheliax, of Sargava. And you can see a cadre of olive-skinned, dark-haired warriors going through various kinds of odd sort of calisthenics. They are armed and armored, and you see on their emblazoned on their plate armor what looks to be the embossed image of a red noose, like a like a noose, like from like a hanged man, embossed on their breastplates, and inside the neck hole of the noose, for lack of a better term, is a strange sort of curved 5-pointed star. It's nothing you've ever seen before. At least it may be nothing you've ever seen before.
Well, that's a fashion statement.
Definitely is some sort of fashion statement. And they all have it. This noose and then the 5-pointed star.
I'd like to use my knowledge of insignia that nobody has ever seen before to determine.
Okay. Did you just make that up?
No.
Yeah, you did. You could do a knowledge religion, maybe knowledge arcana.
Okay, I think I've got Arcana.
Okay.
It's odd in this game. Phineas knew everything, and this guy is just not stupid, but not very well read either.
Would this be considered local?
10.
That would be local would be a bit much. No.
Okay.
A 10 on a knowledge arcana. You've seen this symbol before, the 5-pointed inverted star. But your recollection is from Sargavans that were in Gate Pass. And you have a very strong recollection of, you remember seeing someone, a Sargavan, and you think it may be a Sargavan priest, was wearing an black iron chain with this symbol hanging from the bottom of it.
So I'll whisper that to my colleagues.
This is what here, let me do this. This is what the symbol looks like. I'm just going to put it on the map level so you guys can see. See if this works. It's probably going to take over the whole thing. Yeah, it's quite big, but
Okay. Looks.
It's a Chrysler symbol.
Yep.
Maybe a mashup between that and a swastika.
Yeah, but it's a perfect target if I fill all of the center part with arrows.
Yes.
it's definitely not a swastika. But you feel like, at least several of you feel like you've seen this symbol before.
Oh, Star Trek.
It's definitely, but it's definitely something associated with Sargavans.
Yeah, it's an inverted pentagram.
Does nobody have knowledge, religion, or anything like that?
Not anyone is here.
I think if you can give them Arcana, I think knowledge local should work too.
All right, let's do it. Let's do knowledge local. Anybody who wants to take a look at it.
Oh, I have knowledge religion.
Do you?
Yeah.
No, you're making that up again.
No, I'm not.
Is this like knowledge not tying and shit like that?
Sucks, but
16.
Wraith. All right. Do you want to do your knowledge religion check? Do you have it?
I really do. I
Okay.
have
Roll it.
knowledge, planes, arcana, and religion. Those are my three, and they're
Actually,
not augmented, they're just...
planes might work too.
Ah, jeez.
Try knowledge planes.
I don't have that.
I thought you just said you had it. Knowledge planes.
Did I?
Yeah.
You're making that up. I do have knowledge planes.
This is the oddest conversation I've had all weekend.
21.
21. All right, knowledge planes. All right, so you're not sure what the dealio is, and oh no, your knowledge history is giving you sort of a similar thing. This is the symbol of Asmodeus. And wrapped in a so Titus, you go, that's the symbol of Asmodeus. That is the chief devilish deity of Cheliax. And that's where you remember it. Oh no, your knowledge history gives you the thing of, so there is a group of there's a so in Cheliax, they are from the queen on down, from Queen Abigail on down, they are devotees of Asmodeus, and they have knightly orders of warriors that are called Hell Knights.
Hell Knights. Yep.
And those Hell Knights separate themselves into various sort of. They have what's the word I'm looking for? They have their orders have various locations and that kind of stuff, and they're separate. So they have different orders for different things. For those of you who have been to West Crown, the Hell Knights there were called the Order of the Rack. These with this sort of this noose image on their thing, it could be, these could be Hell Knights that are training out here. They seem, as you guys approach closer, they seem competent. And they seem to be exercising, going through calisthenics, going through things. Those of you of a martial bent would definitely recognize these exercises as being fighting focused. Even though they're not fighting, they're not even sparring, but it's those kind of exercises, right? So Arendar, you and Wraith would recognize that these are combat exercises that they are going through. You suspect
We're
that these
sure
might
it's
be
not Russian ballet.
It's not Russian ballet. It might be Tai Chi, but yeah, it doesn't seem so. They are also armed to the teeth, and they are working out in full armor. As you guys approach, you guys begin to find yourselves surrounded by the various people that are outside of Bresk, and the Commandant leads the way as you go there. Balin at this point has come to the forefront, and basically he's talking to the Commandant, and you can hear him saying, we have, I have my papers from Sequin and that kind of stuff, and the Commandant's like, yes, obviously that's going to be not a problem. We're going to have to break off, and and Balin's like, totally understand. We'll go through there. You're gonna have to, obviously you're gonna have to report in. He's like, yeah, you'll go through the standard, the standard gate system and that kind of thing. And at some point, you guys stop, and the Commandant and the Lieutenant sort of turn around. The Commandant says, I appreciate all that you've done, and all that you've done in the realm of what I hope you will do, for our king and our country. At this point, I must go. I have to meet. We have different gates for the Talons. I have to take these halflings into custody, so that they can be detained and interviewed. Perhaps we
How
will.
can I find you once we get in there?
Perhaps we will see you again. And he sort of tips his helmet.
I'll ask him, how do I find you once we get in there?
It will be difficult. And he looks at Balin. He's like, "Do you have previous arrangements?" And Balin goes, "Oh yes, we're staying at the Golden Gryphon." He's like, "Oh, the Golden Gryphon. Well, now." He goes, "Well, if you're staying at the Golden Gryphon, I'll find you."
Okay.
Gordon, is that you?
Yeah, sorry, man.
Hey.
For some reason we thought that we didn't have any game tonight.
It's 9 o'clock. I can see that daylight savings time hurt you in the same way that it hurt us.
Actually, no. Jennifer told me that we didn't have a game tonight, and for some reason I believed her. I should have known. I think she read the one where Don said that they were playing Abomination Vault and maybe thought that wasn't her, so she didn't have to play. So,
oh yeah, so so Don, in his sort of passive aggressiveness about not being allowed in B team, started his own campaign.
Yeah.
He started his own campaign with like-minded non-B teamers.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. We just finished watching Alien.
Original?
Yeah, it's the first one. Yeah,
such a great movie, brilliant movie.
Yeah, it's good.
Awesome movie. That what the part that always gets me is the small short-haired pilot when the creature gets them when they're trying to load the oxygen tanks, and Yaphet Kotto and her are sort of like trying to get everything ready, and the creature comes in and she's just frozen in fear, and sweat and tears are pouring out her face, and it just sort of like that little talon comes in and like wraps around her. You're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's such a good movie. It's such a scary movie too. For 1979, that movie was made.
Yeah, it's aged definitely, but it's still got good memories. Anyway, sorry to break things up, and I'm here to play. So
All right.
Welcome.
Well, you guys have reached the city of Bresk, and so the commander basically says, "Look, you're staying at the Golden Gryphon. I'll find you guys. Hopefully, we'll meet again soon." And he sort of breaks off from you guys with the halflings and goes into a different space. In the meantime, Balin at this point takes the lead. You guys have your horses and the wagon and stuff like that, and you head towards the main gate. And you see long columns of people and beasts trying to enter the city. You also see a fair amount of people coming out of the city, out of the gates, in a different set of gates that are like egress and ingress gates. And you can see that the out gates are much more heavily manned. There's a lot of people there who are obviously members of the Talons. They bear that same badge. And there's a lot of they're interviewing people. At one point, you guys are clip-clopping along, and somebody gets pulled out. He's like, "Yeah, what are you going?" That kind of thing. And a bunch of Talons swarm around him, and they grab him up, and they take him. He's like, "I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything." And there's like fearsome, fearful looks on the part of the people around him, and they sort of stagger away and that kind of thing, and they don't want to be part of that. But there's a lot more guys there. You get to the primary gates. You have to wait in line for a little while, closing in on an hour, as you get to the main gates. And finally, you get there. Is like a guy comes up. He's like, "All right, what's all this then?" And Balin comes forward and is like, "My name is Balin, and I am the ambassador without portfolio for the city of Sequin. Here are my documents. We are speaking to your king on behalf of our good city to the north." And whoops, what was that?
Sorry.
Jennifer, you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. That was me.
Okay.
Apologize.
Nah, no worries. And so basically he pulls out a long tube and hands the documents to the guy. The guy's like, "We're going to have to take a look. Obviously, we're going to have to search the wagons and that kind of thing." And Balin's like, "Oh, of course, quite all right." That kind of thing. Balin seems, you guys are sort of seeing Balin in his element now, where he's dealing with people and that kind of stuff. He's like, "Oh, of course, yes, of course." And he hops off his horse and he accompanies the guy. He's like, "Obviously, we are in quite a hurry, so I don't want to think." And you do see, some of you may see, Balin very quickly you can see it. It is very deft, but he basically sort of like nudges the guy. And you see his hand come up, and there's a small pile of silver coins in his hand, which he very deftly sort of drops into the guy's palm. And even more deftly, this guy's like, whoop, off they go. And he comes around. He's got a couple of guys. He's like, lifts a couple of tarps. Looks around here, sort of like looks around. He says, "All right, everything seems to be very much in order, that kind of thing. Do you have any place to stay?" They go, "Oh, we already have." Balin's like, "Oh, we've already made arrangements at the Golden Gryphon." He's like, "Oh, the Golden Gryphon, yes, an excellent place, an excellent place. You're free to go. Though I must caution your bodyguard that there is to be no violence on the streets of the city. We do not tolerate violence. It's obviously a different thing when you're out in the field, but we are a civilized city, and we do not tolerate that. We will not require you, obviously, to turn your weapons in, being a diplomatic party. But I would caution all of you not to engage in any violence or fisticuffs in my city. Is that understood?"
We define violence.
Apparently, it's not understood.
All right, we'll do our best.
All right, and then sort of he's like, "All right, these guys go," and you guys wave on. You enter the city, and it's frankly a dwarvish wonder. I mean, every bit of stone seems to have some sort of inlay or carving. You can see, it's obvious that this city has been here for centuries, and that the people who not only created it but who live here now have been hugely interested in making sure that it is beautiful. And it is, I mean, in a certain way, it is massively beautiful. It's obviously a very much a dwarvish city, and all that sort of like weird Art Deco kind of things that the dwarfs do is in evidence everywhere. You get inside the city, there's tons of people back and forth. You see not more than a few of the talents sort of riding through. In one place, they've got somebody up against a wall. They're not pushing him against the wall, but they're looking at some papers and they're talking to him. He's not being beaten, but it's obvious that they're questioning about something. And you guys kind of go through it, and Balin comes to you and says, basically, I've made previous arrangements. I've stayed at the Golden Gryphon on many occasions. It caters to a higher end crowd. I think you'll very be pleased. I've reserved a suite of rooms on the third floor. And I've reserved essentially the whole floor for us, as we did. I need to once we get there, we'll get checked in, we'll get all our baggage taken care of, and that kind of thing. We'll get everybody something to eat. It's approaching lunchtime. He pats his stomach, his ample stomach. He's like, "No, I could use a chicken wing or two if it's available. The food at the Golden Gryphon is excellent. I think you'll find the accommodations quite unique." I do have to go out later this afternoon just to confirm some things, make some connections with the thing. I won't need you guys to accompany me now that we are at Bresk, but I will want to regroup later on tonight to talk about what our jobs here will be once we are brought in front of King Steppengard. Does that sound amenable to you?
Sure.
Sure. When do we get to the violence?
If you'll recall, the guy at the gate said no violence. He
Oh,
Didn't
was
I
say
thought he-
anything about cellos.
I thought
He
he
was
was
very-
You have to,
that's pretty good. No
You have-
cello.
you
No
have to
cellos at
join the-
all.
You have to join the Talons for that.
Right.
So it doesn't take very long. As beautiful a city as Bresk is, it's not a huge city. Your guess is that basically on the size of it and that kind of thing, you're thinking probably 20,000 people. Fair. It rises above the hills, that kind of thing, and you could see all of it. Obviously some monarchy. You also see, in addition to far more talons, you also see what look to be priests, especially dwarven priests. And those of you who have knowledge religion would be able to know that they are priests of Tunnelhome, which is a dwarven goddess of the earth, of healing, and also of war. And they are speaking and moving through all of the people and speaking to various kinds of various groups of people that are clustering here and there. There are restaurants, there are vendors, there are carts pushing food. The smells of this place, as you come in from being outside in the winter all the time, it's almost intoxicating. It does, yeah.
Do I notice that there are is it all common, or are there a lot of different languages going on?
You hear it's primarily common. Everybody is speaking largely common, although you do hear a smattering of Dwarvish. Typically, when you'll hear sort of the guttural sounds of Dwarvish, and you'll look over, you'll see two dwarves talking to each other, but it's largely common.
I'm going to cast comprehend languages just because we're going to be walking through the city.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you're gonna just sort of listen in on various conversations to see if there's anything interesting.
Yeah, as I'm walking around.
All right. Give me a perception check. I assume you guys all have still message going on as well.
I was going to ask how long. I can't remember how long that goes.
It doesn't last long, but I assume that you're going to pop it off quite usually.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Do I have? Well, we're not in rounds, so yeah, I definitely pop off.
It's a cantrip, so you could keep it largely going on all the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
it lasts 70 minutes too, and it's a cantrip, so you can cast it as much
Yeah.
as you want.
Okay.
It's starting to get a little weird with you guys, but everybody's in each other's brains all the time. That's freaky.
So you want to percept?
Please, yeah.
Okay.
21. All right, so yeah, as you guys are moving through the city, you do hear snippets of various conversations. A lot of it is mundane. The dwarvish that you hear is largely discussions between dwarves about commercial elements. I gave you so many gold pieces, and I got this many back. That can't happen, that kind of stuff. In some cases, it's like, well, so and it's largely mundane question. I'll meet you later. Let's get a beer, that kind of thing. You don't, as you proceed through the city, you really don't hear anything sort of subversive or anything like that. There's a couple of instances where groups of talons will pull you, hey, come here, and pull somebody out of the crowd. It's like, where do you think you're going? And it's like, oh, what are you talking about? I'm going to, you got any identification or anything like that? Anything that says that we go? Well, no, I'm just going to, but there's a lot of, not a lot, but a few instances where these talon types will pull people out of sort of conversations or as they're walking around and sort of like, take them aside in brief interrogations. In one case, you do actually see a squad of talons actually carry off somebody. Well, they're not carrying him, but they sort of frog march him away. And he's saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I had nothing to do with any of that. And they're like, you'll tell it to the Inquisitor, that kind of thing. Which was an interesting word. I think probably the biggest thing that you noticed was that those guys, when they were taking that guy away, used the word Inquisitor. And that's a word that you've only historically heard in context with Sargavi.
Sargavi, yeah.
You never heard when you were with the Talons on the road to Bresk. You never heard that guy talk about Inquisitors. He talked about detainees. He talked about interdiction. He talked about they will need to be questioned. They will need to be interrogated. He never used the word Inquisitor. This is the first time that's happened, and it's like a firecracker going off because of that. But yeah, other than that, it's most of the conversations that you eavesdrop on are largely mundane. Nothing super interesting. You get to the Golden Gryphon, and Balin turns around and says, "Here we are!" And you can see that the inn itself is quite large. It has 4 floors. It's large. There's a lot of various people coming in and out. It gives every indication that it is a high-end establishment. As you guys approach, several grooms come out, and they come to your horses. They come to the wagon, and they're like, are you staying at the Griffin, sir? That kind of thing. And they're like, oh, yes. Balin's like, oh, yes, we are. They're like, we'll take care of your horses. And you see Balin is giving them, silver coins to sort of make sure these horses are taken care of. They've brought us a long way, that kind of thing. I'm assuming you're going to get most of your personal equipment out of the back of the wagon and that kind of stuff. They assure you they'll take care of it. And Balin's like, look, you don't have to worry about anything. If you leave it in the wagon, it's not going to go anywhere. I've made sure of that. And you go in the main room, and it is quite busy. As you go into the Golden Gryphon, you come first into the common room, and you can see there's an enormous fireplace. 2 levels. You can hear music. There are people eating, people drinking, various kinds of things. You see a lot of dwarves. You see a lot of men, but you also see people of different other races as well. Including some that aren't readily identifiable, like that big guy right there in front. You're not sure what he's doing, but he's certainly not. He's certainly not a dwarf.
It's a teddy bear.
Yeah, he's a big teddy bear. Your guess is that he might
He's
be
a rat person. Big rat person.
He's not a rat. He's some sort of animal person. You're guessing that he might be and I can't think of the name of it right now.
Ewok.
He's not an Ewok. They're all pelted.
He's a giant Ewok.
Available for a date.
Yes, he is available for a date.
I think he's on a date with that guy next to him.
Oh,
Your guess, and Vondram, this is your guess because this guy gives off a Fey vibe. Your guess is that he is I can't find it. Hold on a second.
He's a pixie. A really
He's
long pixie.
He's not a pixie. He is a. Hold on, almost there.
Wait for it.
Not almost there. Here we go. He is a.
Do you want me to look it up in the module?
No, because it's not in the module. You suspect he is a Furbolg.
A what?
Huh?
Furbolg.
Furbold. That's what I
Furby.
suspect. I suspect he'd be Furgold.
Yeah,
So
those
what's
are.
that?
Furbolg is a burly 8-foot-tall humanoid dressed in bearskin and equipped with an axe, long red beards. So Furbolgs are akin to giants, but they are fey kin. They are often reclusive, that kind of thing. But they are creatures of the woodland, and they are those of you who are familiar with the Fae, they are often quite gentle, that kind of stuff, even though they look very dangerous. You suspect that may be a Furbolg.
okay.
You're not really sure what this guy's like eating a whole pie all at
Yeah.
once. So I don't know what's going on there. So just so you guys know, I generate these from AI to use in our thing. So this is an AI generated image.
Okay. It's good
but-
to know.
Yeah,
I was
that's
confused. I didn't see it in the module at all. So
yes. Stop reading the module.
So,
So
so
this
what do you
is an
just say?
AI generated
Throw,
image?
throw a
Seriously?
throw a Furbolg on the side, and is that how you do that? Let's just throw me a Furgold in it with a in a bar.
that's on a date.
That's right. Yeah, no, this is AI generated. So I use the Microsoft AI, which I find to be really good. I had a subscription with Midjourney for a while, so I like doing these kind of pictures for our games. But I'm not an artist, so I will put a prompt in there and maybe go through a few things, and it works really good. I don't know if you've tried it, but it
Like, what kind of things do you have to tell it? How much information did you give it to get this?
in this case, let me check. I
I find that fascinating.
I might be able to tell you. Hold on a second.
You have a subscription?
I do. Well, I had a subscription to Midjourney, but I canceled it because frankly the Microsoft one is so much better. All right, hold on. Let me. Anybody in BT or anybody in quarantine here? Quarantine with the classics?
No.
Eric is.
Nope.
All right, I'm going to show you something. All right, hold on. So in Quarantine with the Classics, they're in Menzo Baranzan. So can you guys see that little 4 square of images?
Yep.
Okay, so you can see the prompt. I said the street approach to a large drow manor house in the underdark city of Menzo Baranzan. The streets are dark, but lit here and there with torches giving off a purplish light. 2 drow guards stand at an ornate doorway looking bored. The house looks tall and well appointed. This is what it gave me, these 4 images. So you could see, like, they give you like variations that are often quite good, and sometimes when you get variations, it's you can tweak your prompt a little bit to get it. So I use it quite a bit. Here's another one.
Super
So
impressive.
this one wasn't as good, but I like this one. 3 dark elves, 2 female and 1 male, clustered around an ornate table, staring at the viewer. So dark elves and drow. Sometimes when you use proper names, it doesn't like click. But I did it. So 3 evil dark elves, 2 female and 1 male, and this is what I got. It's something better. So this is better.
AI understands.
And then
people.
eventually I said 3 evil drow dark elves sitting around a table, and I got more usable stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it really works good. This is one I used in the game the other night. An eerie cave tunnel with small outcroppings of whitish mold here and there trailing off into darkness. And this is what it gave me. It's fantastic.
Holy crap. That's a game changer. I mean,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, it really does a good job.
That's
A lot
fun.
I'm
of
really pleased
artists
with it.
are a lot of artists are up in arms because a lot of
Well,
these
the-
generated
Oh,
images
yeah.
are using artist material.
Using
and
real
they're-
Oh,
stuff,
absolutely.
they're
So I don't know.
generating.
We haven't had a BGP meeting recently, but I will tell you that one of the things I have been talking with a lot of artists recently. We're 95% of the way done with the content for Bard with a Clue and getting ready to go into thing. And one of the things that we're sticking on is art. So I've had conversations with probably 5 or 6 different artists that we're looking at commissioning. We found a couple that are really great. But one of the things that we've done as part of our artist commission agreement is basically stated that we insist that all art that we commission is generated well, I think the word we use is human produced, meaning that we do not use AI produced art in the books that we're going to sell. And we need our artists that we work with to be able to demonstrate conclusively that they personally have produced the art without AI, with the exception of AI that is built into certain software programs like Photoshop or things like that, Illustrator stuff. But yeah, we insist on we've sort of made a command decision, I guess, for Big Grapefruit, that we are, at least for the short term, until such time it becomes impossible, that we are going to insist on human produced art. We're working with a woman named Chris, who is just absolutely fantastic, and we're really pleased about it.
That's awesome. I'm
Yeah,
glad you
glad to
found
hear.
somebody.
We found a couple of people. I mean, they run the gamut, right? So on one hand, we've talked to a guy named Isaac, who is a comic book artist by trade and does commissions, and he does some really striking work that we're looking at from maybe a cover standpoint. But from the interstitial art, this woman Chris, who just dropped in my lap because she's like a friend of a friend, and I was at a thing. Like a meeting at like Luke's house, and we were talking about Big Grapefruit, and we were talking about the difficulty of finding and working with good artists. And while I was saying this, she took a piece of notebook paper and drew on it, and the drawing was so impressive that I was like, "Can I keep this?" And she's like, "Yes." And then she took it back. She's like, "I'm not proud of that." She sent us an art package that was just fantastic. And so yesterday, Tom and Gwen and Chris got together and talked about what they want, and I think she's gonna. I think she's brilliant, and she's gonna do a great job. But
Oh,
she's
that's
like this
exciting.
she's like this 27-year-old girl who's primary. I mean, she's done painting, she's done charcoals, but it's largely been, you know how artists are. They toil in obscurity, and I've feel like I'm going to take it on myself to bring this woman out of obscurity because she's really great.
That's awesome. I'm glad you found someone. That's fantastic.
Yep. Anyway, you're looking at the inside, the massive common room of the Golden Gryphon. It's 2 floors. They have their famous. Balin will point out they have this, you know, their hearth is famous for its size, and it runs 24 hours a day. They never run out of wood, and you're like, that's interesting in the mountains. And he's like, I don't know how they do it, but that kind of stuff. You can see in the background there's an enormous keg of ale, dwarves cluster around it, and a battery of dwarvish and human waitresses are bringing piles of food, and everybody, the smells in here are fantastic. You can hear the clinks of bottles of wine, and the whoosh of ale flowing out of barrels, and everybody seems to be having a great time. You are immediately confronted with what is like a major domo or something like that, and he's like, Lord Baron, nice that we can see you again. Your reservation, everything is in order. Are these your guests? And Baron's like, yes, these are my guests. We'll be staying on the same thing. He's like, please let me take it, and basically brings you upstairs to the 3rd floor. And Balin wasn't kidding. He's basically reserved the entire 3rd floor of this building. There are several rooms, like 10 different rooms. Balin's like, I always stay in these rooms in the corner when I'm here, but feel free to choose whatever you like and take a load off. He talks to the majordomo. He's like, have wine brought up. My friends and I are quite tired from our journey. In fact, if bring wine and a selection of cold and hot plates for my friends to enjoy. And you could see that he pulls out what looks to be a pretty fat little coin purse, and he drops it in the majordomo's hands. This should take care of us for the next couple of days, but come to me if there is any issues, that kind of thing. And he's like, very good, sir. And you guys shed your backpacks and that kind of stuff. There's hot water in bowls in various places for you guys to get in. You could see that there is an actual bathing room with 6 large tubs. They're not filled with water right now, but obviously this is something that can be available to you. And it just seems quite relaxing. You could hear faintly the noise from the common room, which is quite busy. Very soon, the majordomo shows up with a half dozen bottles of wine and a variety of platters. He's got like 3 guys with him who are carrying big platters on their thing. They set them down on the tables, and everybody, with all the accoutrements, and they depart quite quickly. And there's food and there's wine, and you guys can finally rest. So Balin sits down and basically looks at you guys and says, "Look, now that we're here in Bresk, your jobs are, in certain cases, largely over. My job begins. My understanding is that we are scheduled to speak to the king in 3 days' time. I would like you to join me there." He's like, "Look, I've spoken to King Steppengard before in front of. I've made presentations in front of King Steppengard before." He goes, "And I've always received a fair audience, but I can't help but think, with your personal stories that have happened to you in Sequin and to you in Gate Pass, I can't help but think that your presence there, and frankly, if you were to speak in front of the king and tell you a story and tell him what has happened to you and what the Sargavans have brought to your own city, to the city of Sequin, I can't help but think that you would be a sympathetic draw. There's a great deal of, I'm going to go out." He's like, "I'm going to go out later tonight, and I'm going to talk to some contacts. I'm going to try to find the lay of the land. Whatever you guys want to do this evening is up to you. But if we're speaking, I'll confirm that we're also speaking to the king in a couple of days. But then I want you guys to think about what you might bring to that presentation, what you might bring to the whole concept of defending Sequin, and to a certain extent, reminding King Steppengard of what occurred in Gate Pass, and that how it's not outside of the realm of possibility that it occurs here as well."
So on
go
top of that, now I know we were going to stop by some of the other locations to talk to some of the other leaders. Obviously, because of what happened, we skipped stopping by other places.
Like going to Lord Gallows.
Right.
Right.
So I'm going to ask him, can you find out if any of them might be here, that we can go visit with them directly here? Because I'm sure they're going back and forth, and but can you find out if any of them are here, or if there's any higher ups with those people that we can talk with?
100%. The likelihood is that the lords themselves have probably exited Bresk. I will confirm that. But they would have left proxies here. I have my intention is to determine the location and availability of those proxies. That is one of the things on my list. Because I absolutely agree. I think we should talk to whoever we can to try and if only to determine the lay of the land, but and also to also frankly ascertain the intellectual and emotional capabilities of the king. I think we must always remember, even when we are in front, when we go to our audience with the king, that he has suffered an immense and terrible loss, and that the source of that loss seems to be still in contention. We don't know. So I think we should always consider that. Like I said, I have met King Steppengard. I've spoken in front of King Steppengard, and while be lying to you if I told you that he and I are friends. I have always found him to be fair and just. But my worry is that the absolute horrific tragedy that's befallen him in the last couple of weeks has changed that somewhat.
Right.
I'm sure I saw you observing the Talon. He looks at Titus. He says, "I saw you observing the Talons in the streets today, and I was observing them as well. This is quite a different environment that we find ourselves in here in Bresk than the one that I have historically always found when I've come here."
So the other thing, I'll let him know, I'm not gonna give you the details just for plausible deniability, but, yeah, we're also gonna see if we can track down and figure out who did this. Obviously, we have our suspicions that Sargovan people were involved.
Mhm.
But obviously, we're looking for ways to prove that, or at least if we can't prove it out and out, because Sargovans are smart, they're gonna not make it easy to get proof. If we can at least get a bunch of circumstantial evidence that kind of leans that way or points that way.
I agree. I share your suspicions about the Sargovans. We've seen what they've done at Gate Pass. We've seen what they've tried to do in Sequin. There's no reason to think otherwise that this major capital city of the region would fare any differently.
Mhm.
My suspicions of the Sargovans are often more than well founded.
That's all,
Let-
that's all I have for him is just, yeah, if we can. Like I said, we kind of skipped talking to people because we kind of fell into this thing, but
We had to come here right away, and I think it was the right choice. While Lord Gallo has always been a friend to us and a good friend to me, it made sense for us to come here, especially
Right.
considering the rapidity with which the situation seems to be declining.
right.
We didn't have any trouble with the commander when we got back here and with handing off Beckhoff and all that. Did that all go well?
Well, we haven't seen our end of it. He told us he's gonna go get the halflings interrogated.
Yeah, I mean, basically, he was like, "Look, they've killed Talon, and you're the one that you guys sort of helped us capture. Sort of admitted that she delivered something to someone. They're going to have to face interrogation. There's no way around it."
Right. But then
But
he
go
also
ahead.
said he's gonna do a report that has our name in it. Because we were part of the scuffle where one of the guys died. Now, there's no evidence that there was no proof that we did it, but you know. So anyway, so he's gonna basically say, I'm delivering a report that you guys are in. But I think we've got a good enough rapport with him that he's gonna shed it in the best possible light without, he's not gonna lie for us, but at least.
He's not gonna throw us under the bus.
Right.
He did say that you guys might be called upon to provide certain what's the word I'm looking for? Certain testimony that would be of a corroboration, of what the halflings declare within interrogation. But yeah, he's like, "Look, I gotta detain him.
Right.
I can't just let him go. They killed a guy.
So we're okay
They killed one of my guys, and the
with that.
head
So
of
that was the
them.
one who like angrily told them to stay there and not do anything.
Yeah,
And did it anyway.
yeah, they jumped right in, didn't they? And also that Hethel, the one that was eventually caught, admitted that she had delivered a package that the Sargot. So, and this is sort of like the wedge, right?
Snuck in, and they didn't want to be responsible for it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So they gave her a package, said, you take this, deliver that, and we will waive your extortion fee.
Extortion fee, yeah.
Which she did. And you get the impression that maybe she knew that there was she couldn't have not known that there was some chicanery taking place, but she was like, "Look, this is going to help my village."
Right. So she still did something wrong, but she did it for a good reason.
Well, certainly an understandable reason.
Right. So
All right. So that, I mean, you guys get a chance to eat, you drink, that kind of stuff. It's getting late in the afternoon. Is there anything specific? And Balon's like, look, I got to go see my guys. You know, try not to get hurt. And he's like, okay, because I'll need you in a couple of days. But and then he departs to go see his guys. Is there anything that you guys want to do?
So if no one's gonna say anything, I'm gonna keep jumping in until you guys get tired of hearing me and tell me to shut up and let the rest of you guys talk.
Well, do we still have
Frankly, I'm already
message
tired.
on?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask the group without speaking if they want me to follow this guy.
To follow Balon?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys talk about it. I'll be right back.
What are you thinking?
Hmm.
He's coming
We got hooked up with this guy as a representative of Sequin. Now, that doesn't mean anything necessarily, but he was given to us. We don't know him. So my whole thing is, do you just want me to stay in the shadows and keep an eye out, look what he's doing, and does it seem like he's on the level? Or do we trust him innately? I mean, I realize we have to trust him.
Right.
I
Due to
just
the
don't.
general non-use of Alessa's NPCs, I tend to trust. So maybe you're not wrong, but they don't generally get up to too many shenanigans. But
He
Well-
could be a lion SOB though. I mean,
yeah, he could be. It's
was
not.
doing
That's what
that,
I'm saying.
totally.
It's not a bad point. I'm just saying
But-
I'm so
Yeah,
like
I don't
conditioned
think
to
that's
think
the
that.
case this time, but
I don't think it is just because I think just from a metagaming standpoint, I think this whole campaign would be screwed if he was against us. Because we're 100% reliant on him to get the audience with the king, and the king doesn't know us from anyone. This guy is the guy that's got the relationship, so
right.
That doesn't mean he's on our side.
I'm just asking.
back.
No,
Right.
I get it.
Interesting.
I'm just all right. So
Wraith is the one that trusts nobody. Well, he kind of trusts his brother.
Kind of, sometimes.
Kind of.
Sometimes.
Glad you clarified that.
Every
Yeah.
now and then he's worthy to be
He
trusted.
trusts his mother, but he doesn't
Yeah.
trust anyone else, especially when it comes to the well-being of this group. So
Right.
I'm not saying I'm going to go in, arrows blazing, try to kill this guy the first time he talks to somebody I think is sketchy. I'm just saying, do you want me to follow him and kind of keep an eye on what he's doing and report back? And if the answer is no, that's acceptable.
One of the things I want to do is, so the halfling story, the little halfling girl that I think it was, unless you can correct my memory if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
she said she had to deliver that package to some half orc, and she gave a name, didn't she?
She did.
So I'm very curious to find out. I think your efforts are better spent us finding that half orc and then tailing the half orc to see who he's dealing with
yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see what.
The other thing we can do if we have time, I've got a crap load of stuff to sell. If we could find somewhere here to sell stuff. This is a big city, right? Good sized city.
It is about 20,000 people.
And I wouldn't mind stopping to find some boom stuff just to fill up my coffers again.
Mhm. So maybe we have some store runs from some people, and then some of the rest of us are more on
Absolutely.
information gathering and
The name she gave you was JS.
JAAS.
Mm-hmm. JS. And she said it was a half orc.
Yeah, which is the thing, because it could be a fake name, so that might not come to anything, but half orcs are rare.
I'd
From
imagine
my-
it's super plentiful here.
From my understanding, half
They're
orcs are rare.
They're absolutely, I mean, you could take the general population of half orcs, and here in Bresk, they're going to be super rare.
Right. So
Right.
that would be somewhat easier to track down, I think.
Right. So I said, I think, yeah, I agree, the store stuff. I think we just spent money, so I don't know if much of us have much to spend on stuff, but yeah, if you need to buy stuff, this is the place to do it, but. we also-
And so like most dwarven cities, this is a place where commerce is privileged, right? So there will be tons of stores, tons of vendors, things of, people selling everything and everything. So if you guys have stuff you want to sell, certainly you'll be able to do that. And largely you will find a expanded version of things to buy as well. When you guys were coming in, you saw lots of carts coming in. This is a trading center.
Mhm.
So yeah, depending on what you want to sell, the likelihood is that you'll be able to sell it. And depending on what you want to buy, you could probably buy it. You're probably not going to be able to buy a lot of magic items or custom magic items and things of that nature. But these things happen. One thing, everybody give me a quick perception check.
Please.
Wow, look at all those perceptions.
You got one.
Wow, there's a good one. Everything's good. Holy shnikes.
We're paying attention.
For a change.
All right, you guys all saw this. And you may or may not have been able to, what's the word I'm looking for? You may or may not have ascertained the importance of this, but as you guys were walking between the gate and the Golden Gryphon, you guys passed a rather modest looking place with a small wooden sign above the door that said Tunnelhomes. And as part of that, in front of the door, which looked to be sort of like a cylinder. Have you guys ever been in a dark room where they have that cylinder style door where you go in and sweep it so that air doesn't?
Yes.
It's like a
Yeah.
cylinder style door. And out front was an elf with a bow and a huge half orc with a giant tulwar in his hand. And they were just sort of lounging around in these chairs outside. But the sign said Tunnelhomes. As you passed by, you did not see anybody going in or out.
So I know what that is, but my character might not know what that is.
Knowledge local might help you.
Poe's gonna know that. He's been a merchant for years.
Okay, all right.
That's what I'm
I
looking
think that's
for.
legit. So Poe, yeah, you would know exactly what, and you've probably heard of it, Arendar, but you've never been in
Oh
one.
yeah.
But Poe would know. Gordon, you want to? Does Poe want to tell them what Tunnelhomes represents?
Yep, sure. He'll talk about it. He'll also say maybe this half orc might know some other half orcs in town. Might be his place to start to look. Kill two
What is-
birds with one stone.
Just concerned how we approach them. Hey, we're looking to investigate the half orc. Do you know any other half orcs?
My friend here loves half orcs. Do you know any other ones?
We're sure you're fine, but there's another
Yeah,
half
but
orc.
there's one bad apple we're trying to track down.
All right. So, is there anything you guys want to do while Balin is gone? Are you going to follow him?
It's up to you, Chuck. You really.
Chuck stepped away.
So yeah, I think we decided we're not going to do that though. We're going to pursue the half orc instead.
All right. So, down to the common room, ask questions, that kind of thing. What's your plan?
Just use some social skills and just kind of ask around, try to
So, Wraith's going to be in charge of that?
innocently weave it into conversations and just trying to, yeah.
You say social skills out loud? Because if you do, Vondram laughs.
I just have social skills. Arendar has some social skills.
Yeah, just thinking out
Vondram
loud.
laughs and Wraith faints. Not social skills. Oh my god. My blood pressure. Well, all right. So Arendar and Titus really are the social skilled amongst the party. You guys go down. So, what kind of questions are you likely to?
Well, first, let's talk about what I'm wearing. I look very suave,
I assume codpiece
debonair, and
and a
yet
cape.
down to earth, like someone you could talk to who might be a couple levels above you, but still seems like they care about what you think.
Okay. So the old CNC, codpiece and cape.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah,
have
let's
an
go with
order.
It's sort of a 300 kind of dress. All right, so you're dressing modestly but of high quality.
I'm trying to blend in, but maybe also looking not
Yeah.
shabby.
Snazzy. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to switch things? Chuck,
No,
they
we're just going
while
to
you were
switch
gone,
things.
they nominated you to be in charge of diplomacy,
Oh, that's a good idea.
and that they're going to go down to the common room and start asking awkward questions for people they don't know.
Okay.
We're gonna center around sexual preference and
Politics and sexual preference.
I pull
We're
a
gonna-
weapon
We're
out.
gonna
That's
open
how
with those. I open with a weapon.
Is
I'm
that a
pulling a
cod
weapon.
piece in your pants?
What about religion?
No, it's outside of my pants.
Oh my gosh.
What about religion? Can we add religion so we can
Oh,
have
yeah.
the top 3 things that you shouldn't ever discuss?
Yes, we're gonna do all 3 of those.
I'm assuming that when it comes to sexuality and politics, religion will just flow right in.
Can you zoom in? I want to ask that guy in the middle of the 2 friendly giants. What's
This
hanging out of
guy?
his mouth?
You mean pie
Oh, he puts
face?
that in his mouth?
Yeah. Like, is that a
He's-
fist coming out of his mouth?
No, it's an entire piece of rhubarb pie that he just jammed in his face.
I want to talk to that guy.
I want
Did
to
you
talk
ask
to
for
that
with
guy.
the AI list? Did you ask for
Yeah,
that?
it's like,
with
can
the
you can you put a guy that looks like me from a hair standpoint in there eating a giant piece of rhubarb pie with his hands under the table? Because that's not creepy at all. It's like, what are you touching? No, I don't want to know.
So I won't take that approach of Titus, but Arendar just go down there more of a very average
Walk in there.
European warrior guard kind of guy.
Walk in there like, what stinks in here? You know, that
I'm,
kind of thing.
I'm sorry for what I missed, but are we going to Tunnelhome?
No, not yet.
No, there's a.
You
half
passed it on the
guard.
way to the Griffin. You saw it, but you didn't go in.
Okay.
But
It
we
was
determined
just-
it'd be
and
very
so
hard
the-
to-
Because
thing,
we do have some magic items we can try and sell.
well, the thing about tunnel homes is usually you need a reference.
We
You
don't
need,
have one, just who we are.
you've never asked for one.
not to Tunnelhome.
Hey, I know a guy.
Do you know a guy?
I do. I know
I
a
know
guy.
again. Hey.
I was in magic school with him. I'm pretty sure he works at Tunnelhome. His name is Fiddlefink. Yeah, that's him.
Little thing?
Fiddlefink. Fiddlefink. You know, he's another dwarf. He was real small. Mom named him funny, but he's a nice guy.
All right. You are officially declaring I know a guy?
I know a guy. I'm sure I do.
All right. Little Think, the dwarven mage, has told you about tunnel homes, and I'll tell you what, give me a roll, because one of the things about I know a guy is it's based on the idea of Han Solo going to see what's his Billy D. Williams.
Okay. What do you need to war?
I'm
what
no
do you-
coercion.
Yes. So the idea is you don't know going in whether or not this is a favorable or unfavorable thing. So I need a raw D20. 10 or lower is unfavorable.
Yes.
Ah, it's favorable. All right. So I'm going to rule that you have a scrap of paper in your pocket.
So are you saying it's like, you know that asshole? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, so
I know a
it's
guy that wants to kill me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
well, you know, sometimes I know a guy doesn't go right? So, but you rolled favorable, so you have a favorable reaction. So I'm going to rule that you have a scrap of paper that you've been carrying around from this guy Little Think that says, when you're in Bresk, go see Tunnelhome. He'll hook you up. And it's just like a scrap of paper that you've gotten from your friend that you've been
Right.
carrying around for years, but you've never used.
And I
Nicely
just
done.
tell him that Littlefink sent us.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
Well,
the
you show the
sticker
piece of
and then
paper.
what you-
All right. So do you guys want to go down to Tunnel Homes then?
We got stuff we could do.
The shopping
Let's-
people can, like, so I'm gonna be working on trying to find information on this half orc guy. I think Titus and I are doing the same thing.
All
I'll go
right, so
shopping.
you guys are going into the so who's going to the common room to investigate about Jas, and who's going to go into Tunnelhomes?
Well, didn't you say there was a guard out in front of Tunnelhome who was half orc?
Two guards. There's a large half orc carrying a tall war. I mean, this guy's immense, and there's a smaller but equally competent looking elf who has a, to your eyes, Wraith, an absolutely exquisite longbow and a sheaf of arrows that look like they may have been handmade, homemade. This guy looks like he knows what he's about.
Okay, my only point was one of them's a half orc,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so he might
Yep.
be worth talking to
Okay.
because he would know if there's a community of half orcs in this area,
We just couldn't figure out a non-creepy way to bring that up.
which there shouldn't be, but still. And I didn't say I would be non-creepy.
Well, I think we always assume that you will be in some
Yeah,
way.
Wraith can pull off creepy,
inept.
so you know it's okay.
People love creepy.
No, I'm just blunt.
What are you gonna up to him and just be like shrinkage? No.
Should that be a quote? I'm not creepy, I'm just blunt.
Does that work?
It is now.
No, it doesn't work any better than creepy, but at least you're just being honest.
Oh,
I'm adding that. It doesn't work
Always leave
any
him
more than-
guessing, right, Chuck? I follow the same adage.
That's right.
Did she really mean that? Did that really come out of her mouth? Oh yeah, it did.
So I won't necessarily go in because
Okay.
I don't think, hang on, let's see how much money I have. No, I have almost no money. I've given it all away.
Well, I assume it. I mean, you guys have, and I would. I think Gordon was keeping the party treasure. I don't know if you guys have a bunch of party
Was I
stuff
or-
that you
I
guys.
thought Mike was doing that on this. Aren't you doing that, Mike?
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was, and we distributed it, and people spent a lot of that money because we had people to Lyceum that would make us stuff.
Oh, so we already got rid of it all.
So we use, I don't know, I didn't keep track of what everybody did, but I
But
know
don't-
several people, myself included.
Don't we still have a great axe +1 defending?
Yeah, we got that, and we got a large shield. I mean, a large shield ain't gonna be anything though. We got some masterwork tridents. I don't know if those got sold. I don't know.
We should have 3 masterwork tridents, a +1 great axe defending, and we have another sphere of tide reavers tiers.
I think we sold all that or got rid of it whenever because we gave like everyone like 10 grand worth of gold or something like that. It was a large amount. I think all that stuff left because of that. Because
Are
my,
you
A while ago.
where I keep my notes for my stuff, all of it's empty right now.
Oh,
Oh, okay. So all the potions and all of everything else has all been
Has either
divvied out.
been sold or has been distributed out. Now, if you guys have individual things that you haven't done anything with,
The carved
that you want to do
figurine.
stuff with, you might still have that, but just the party booty right now I'm showing is empty.
What about all the non-magical items? Did you sell that for money?
That would have been part of the stuff I sold to give everybody their
Including the custom handbow with the 8 bolts and 2 vials of poison?
like I said, I don't have anything here and I wouldn't have deleted it unless I sold that or gave it, one of the characters said, hey, it's mine.
Okay, never mind then.
Like I said, if you didn't about 4 or 5 sessions ago spend roughly 10 grand on magic items, then you guys probably still have. Like I said, I don't remember the exact amount, but I know it was right around 10 grand each
Yeah,
that each one of us got.
Yeah, I know. I spent that on magic items. That's why I show I only have, I don't know, like 91 gold left.
Yeah, I'm down to like 500 or 600.
maybe it wasn't that long ago. I'm down too, because I remember spending all mine too that we got. Maybe it just hasn't been that long ago. It just feels like it.
I mean, We haven't had a lot of fights since that happened. We've had a lot of role-playing nights that we didn't fight at all.
Yeah.
And usually that's how we get our stuff, as we fight.
And what do you have in party savings?
Right now, 1100.
Okay.
And that's working up enough to eventually get us some diamond stuff. So if one of us does bite it, we can pay to get them raised, but we're not even to that point yet.
Okay. That's all good. So I thought we still had some magic items because I didn't deal with it. And
Got it. Got it.
but the only reason I wanted to go to Tunnelhome was to talk to the half orc.
Yeah, well, we can still do that.
I can get some boom powder too. I could use some stuff there.
Yeah, they sell non-magical stuff too, right?
They do indeed. Yeah, and they trade in it as well. Now they so Tunnelhomes does a variety of different things. One, they serve as an adventurer's bank. They will change money. They will sell magic items. They will buy magic items. They will buy mundane items. Yeah, I mean, largely you can sell or buy almost whatever you need.
Or store.
But it's an adventurer's store. I mean, they don't just let any jamoke off the street come in.
Right.
Okay.
Can I make a list for you, Les, of the stuff I'm going to buy later?
Sure, if you want.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll need it tonight, but yeah, I probably will just make a list.
All right, so go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I heard that somebody is gonna go explore a tunnel.
Not exactly.
Okay. I actually just sort of caught that as I was.
It's a magic shop.
So Tunnelhomes is a magic shop in this.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but it's also more than that.
That's right. Okay.
It largely functions in many ways similarly to what the old Italian banks did in the medieval ages. So the Tunnelhome, and when you talk about Tunnelhomes, the Tunnelhome Collective is what you're talking about, which is basically a number of different places that all go by the name Tunnelhomes, and they typically will be in large areas, large cities. They buy and sell magic items. They buy and sell mundane items. They change money. They will transfer gold into gems, that kind of thing. But they also provide recommendations. So one of the things about Tunnelhomes is that you really can't get in there unless you have a referral, which Jennifer pointed out. She knows a guy, and she rolled her thing where she has essentially a 3-line referral to get in the door. The likelihood is that she'll be able to get in the door. After that, what she does is up to her in Tunnelhome. But these places are massively guarded. They always have an elf and a half orc out front, and they have names. It's Sif and Vess. Sif is the elf. Vess is the half orc. And every Tunnelhome, no matter where they are, have an elf bowman and an orc swordsman out front as guards.
Okay.
Now, if you've been to multiple Tunnelhomes, the elf and orc and half orc guards will look different, but they go by the same names and they carry the same weapons.
Branding's consistent.
Branding's consistent, and it also, you have to wonder, if this place is guarded by 2 people, how powerful might they be?
Okay. Nobody tried to pick their pocket, please.
There is a lengthy article about Tunnelhomes on tinybatman.com. Just search Tunnelhome on the site. And it goes into the entire history of Tunnelhomes and where it came from and what it exists as today. I encourage you to read it because I wrote it.
Actually, I have read that.
Check it out.
Where's
Should
that?
we take a 5 or 10 minute break?
It's on Tiny. You don't have to read it now, but
Tiny Batman.
It's on Tiny Batman, yeah.
Okay.
Here, I'll post the link in chat.
Cool.
So are you guys doing your shopping now, or are you gonna do that offline?
I'll do mine offline just because it's easier. I want to sit down and go through it all. We'll
Gordon,
go.
you'll be pleased. There's a large passage in the Tunnelhome portion that talks about when Samuel Chopper had a conversation with Tunnelhome as he was leaving Galarian.
Yeah, I don't think I've read this either. I'll have to read it.
All right. Well, I put it in the chat if you guys want to read it. All right. So what are you guys doing? Are you guys going to Tunnelhomes? Are you guys going to try and extract information from the common room? Are you guys going out to follow Balin? What are you guys doing?
Well, I think we're doing the smart thing and we're splitting the party.
Yep. I was just
Perfect.
So
As a
at least-
DM, I love that and hate it.
At least Titus and I are staying back here just to kind of mingle with people, interact, and try and dig up information on this half orc. I think Wraith was gonna go with them and then stay outside to kind of chat with the guards to see if he could find out anything about the half orc. I'm not sure. Oh no, which group are you staying with, or are you doing your own thing?
I think I'm gonna go. I believe I was advised by Titus to go with Wraith. Wraith, where are you going, man?
I was just saying that because Arendar and I were going to try to peacefully mingle, and a fight might.
All right, gotcha. I gotcha. You know, Ono doesn't have to get in a fight. It's just his hobby.
It's his hobby.
It's
It's his hobby. He likes to fight.
But it's yet it's these fights are quite lawful. They are clean, fair fights, and Ono is deeply good-hearted. He's a lawful good boxer.
They're all really
So
lawful good.
I would love to
Damn
see
it! If you want to get in a fight in a pub, that's your right.
We're not supposed to be fighting.
You're not gonna punch that Furbolg, are you? Punch the guy with the rhubarb pie. He deserves it. But look at that.
Punch him and then tell him, chew with your mouth closed.
It's like this guy has never met a napkin.
He needs help getting that in his mouth.
Where
No.
he grew up, rhubarb pie was a napkin. Holy cow, that is some
Look at-
disfigurement.
Look at this freaking guy. He's just sitting there. Look at his arms are down. He's just like, I have a giant pie in my face, and I'm just gonna sit here between these two giant dudes and act like a thing. And what is this thing on the side of his head? Is that a cauliflower ear?
It's
Yes.
it's one of those joke shop beers. What? I can't hear you.
What? What?
Oh,
Like it's a Pee Wee Herman ear.
Yes.
I'm just
But I-
suggesting you shouldn't mess with the guy whose hands are under the table.
Well, if you guys think this guy's bad, let's look at this guy over here. What's he doing?
He's a Wookiee.
What is he doing?
He's got a veil. Is that a? I can't-
His beard goes up to
or is his
yeah.
head upside down?
His beard goes up to here and his eyebrows go up to here. There's a vague sort of Cylon-esque eyeball thing here going on. I don't know what he's doing, but I wouldn't trust him. Also, he's got a bunch of hair coming down here. What's that about?
Isn't
Did
he a
you order
furry guy from like,
impressionistic
the Munsters or
style?
the Addams
He's a
Family?
Wookiee.
Oh, also, Cardi B is sitting here as well.
He's
Nice.
a tiny little Wookiee.
So as we leave, whatever group anybody's in, as we leave to go through the common room, I'm gonna scope it out and see if I see any half orcs in the common room.
Give me a perception check. Uh, 30. Yeah, you do not see any half orcs.
Okay.
None. All right, so I've got Titus and Arendar going down to the common room to try and extract information about half orcs, and then I've got
Everyone else.
Ono, Vondrum, and I can't even read my own writing. Somebody else going to see Tunnelhome? Wraith going to see
Yeah.
Tunnelhome.
Yeah.
Poe's gonna do that too.
Poe's going as well?
Yep.
All right. We'll do Tunnelhome first. So you guys go down there, and Vess and Sif are sitting outside. You guys approach, and they're like, "Afternoon." And the elf says, "Can we help you in some way?"
Vondram will walk up and say, I've got a friend who told me that this was the absolute best place for someone to procure simple flash powders. I've got a party, gonna do some flash powder fun, and my compatriots here, they're just along with me for the ride and a little bit of shopping, mostly just sightseeing. Just play it really low key.
The half orc leans down, and he's he's approaching 8 feet tall. He leans down. He's like, "Got a referral?" At which point the elf goes, "You know, we're we're an agency of invite only. Can you tell me the name of the person who referred you here, or perhaps even better, you have some sort of documentation?"
Sure. And I start like going through my pockets, and my friend Little Fink, he told me I was going to need this paper. Boy, he wasn't wrong. You guys are Europe. Yeah, I get it. I'm glad I kept this piece of paper.
We have to
Throw
be
my
quite
nose in
strict
it or
about
something.
things.
But yeah, so I dig and I dig and I dig and
Pull it out.
hand it out. Yeah.
All right, so he checks it out. He shows it to the half orc. Half orc kind of goes, and he's like, "All right, welcome to the Tunnelhome. Welcome to Tunnelhomes. As you can imagine, you are being watched entirely through the course of the course of your visit. But I assure you, your visit will be profitable. Please enter."
Thank you.
And the thing goes, and you get the impression that the door as a cylinder, kind of thing, is designed specifically to trap people in there. If they manage to get past the front gate,
But they're not supposed to be there. Yeah.
they can lock that down in a second. And
Yeah.
and as a mage, you're thinking of, once that happens, there are 7,000 different ways to kill who is ever in here.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. You walk into the room, and suddenly you find yourself in an enormous room, and there's a cacophony is too strong, but there's a lot of people talking. The first thing you see is a long, sort of curved line of zinc-topped tables, and you can see various dwarves kind of battering around. You got people who have dumping things out on the tables, and they're talking and that kind of stuff and that kind of. You can see in the background there's a variety of like rooms where people are sitting. You can see some people who are drinking wine, some people are talking, that kind of thing. As you guys sort of stand there in front of the gate, a dwarf in a long leather smock comes up to you. He's got a long beard that's forked and has like jeweled nodules on the top on the bottom to keep the fork separate. And his hair is slicked back, and he comes back. He's like, "Hello, welcome to Tunnelhomes. I am Tunnelhome. How can I serve you? Welcome to my establishment. Perhaps there is something I can do for you. What can I do for you?"
Well, first, I'm just going to say we are just really glad to be here, and thanks for letting us. My friend told me it was amazing, and it's been nothing short of that already.
Your friend. May I see the piece of paper that you share with Sif outside?
I dig again and hand it over.
Okay, he takes a look at it, and you hear him give off a little whistle, and over runs a dwarf. He's like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Check this out. Make sure he's part of the collective. If you'll," and he looks to you. He's like, "Forgive me. We cater to a very esoteric and select clientele. I just want to make sure that the person that has recommended you is in our ranks.
Absolutely.
If
One
you
can
would
never
be
be so
if
safe.
you would be willing to stay just for a moment, and he points over to like a little area. It's not a private room, but it's like a little alcove off the main room. He's like, my associates will bring you some ale and wine. You can rest while we take a look at your bona
Well,
fides.
who
That's
could
all
say
right.
no to that?
Please.
I look at my compatriots and make sure they're okay with that, but I'm just gonna play along and be patient.
Oh no, Poe, Wraith, do you guys do anything crazy?
No.
I'm just scoping out the security, and I'm impressed.
It looks like the security in this inside seems almost non-existent. What you see is a bunch of people talking to a bunch of dwarves in front of tables, and these zinc top tables seem to be like all around, and it looks like they're sharing. I mean, to your eyes, it looks like loot that they are doing. You don't see any obvious security. There are a lot of like servants and perfunctory kind of people that are wandering around bringing people things and that kind of stuff. In fact, one of them shows up very quickly to where you guys are, and he's got a couple of bottles of wine and some glasses. He's like, I brought you your drinks, sirs and madame. If you will just wait, I'm sure Tunnelhome will be done with the check very quickly. And he just drops it on. He doesn't wait for a response. He just drops it on the table. Boop, and takes off, and you can see these people running around. Wraith, to your eyes, the lack of security seems to give you a vibe of massive security.
Yeah.
The fact that they seem so nonchalant gives you the idea that there's a reason why this is the case.
They're very much chalant.
Yeah. that they've got some chalant built in to a variety of things. It's about 20 minutes that you guys are chilling there. You guys have knocked over a few bottles, and you've had an extra pitcher of ale brought over. At which point, the guy that initially goes, "Seems your credentials are in order. Welcome to Tunnelhomes. You are this Vondram," and he puts his hand out to you. He's like, "My name is Tunnelhome, and I welcome you to the collective. I'm happy to have your custom. If there's anything I can do for you, you need only ask." So then, I assume that you will vouchsafe your friends.
Yes, of course.
Excellent. Gentlemen, we will at some point require to get your names. That said, I'm here, and he sort of sits himself down, pours himself a glass of wine from the nearly empty bottle, and says, "Now then, I guess my next question is, welcome, and how can I help you?"
Well, for me, I intend to do some light shopping, but my friends here would I mean, what are you guys interested in doing while we're here? I
Have
just
you
can't
ever
wait to
had
get to shop.
a client who is a hands and feet martial arts fighter?
Of course, our clientele is very diverse, as you can imagine. You could see in many cases where our clientele is diverse. We only have really two rules when it comes to clientele. One, they must be of the adventuring class, which you are obviously so. And two, they must come recommended, which your friend has come recommended. We have checked her bona fides and found them to be acceptable. And by virtue of that, we have included you in that group. So you now are a verified member of a verified user of the Tunnelhome Collective, which means that you can, with the appropriate introductions, access the facilities and services of any tunnel homes in any town that services them.
Ono bows deeply and says, "I am deeply honored, and I hope to be worthy of this great honor."
Master Ono, it is not an honor. It is simply a commercial transaction. We are more selective than most, and we pride ourselves on having the sort of custom that appeals to a select group. That said, you are welcome here. You need not bow.
Bowing is customary where I come from. So how much for a girdle of cloud giant strength?
Ah, girdle of cloud giant strength. Well, I have to check my books to see if we have one, but the likelihood is that we do not.
No, oh no.
That said,
so
if you have sufficient now, not crass at all. I have entertained many requests of a even more disgusting nature.
How much for?
What I can tell you is that should you sincerely desire this item and you have the appropriate coinage, we have a cadre of magic users that we work with that that create items for us. If this is something that you desire and you have the means and the opportunity, we can make that happen.
Actually, you know, I spoke. Forgive. I spoke lightly. Actually, I am a humble monk, and I actually don't use items of magic. But I guess I was just curious about the scope of your services, and your earnest reply was so helpful, and I'm grateful. I think I understand now more of your services. My goal is actually to one day have a monastery in the mountains. So,
if you are in the event that you come into sufficient financial resources, we and in the Tunnelhome Collective might be able to find you a suitable location for a reasonable price. That is something that it is within our remit to do. We have arranged for these sorts of things. It's rare, but on occasion we have done so.
I would be deeply grateful if you have any suggestions, or if you could act as an interlocutor or a of course you finder's fee and would be impeccably provided, so on and so on.
As a favor to you, as new customers, I'll certainly put it out across the collective to see what is available. I'll get back to you.
Thank you. My goal is to reach level 20 and then build a monastery. Wait, was that?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Anyway.
Level 20 in this campaign and a less campaign?
Good luck with that.
That seems remote. Plus, even those of us in the Tunnelhome Collective know that he is incredibly stingy with treasure and magic items. And so even if you were to reach level 20, the likelihood of you amassing the sort of funds that would be required to purchase a monastery in the mountains as you wish would be remote, to say the least. He's a stingy bastard. We all know it.
But very handsome.
Well, that is indubitably true.
Anyway, Onos will politely thank the master master. I'm getting old.
Master Tunnelhome?
Yeah, Master Tunnelhome. Thank you.
Does anybody else have questions for him? Things to sell? Generally speaking, the baseline for Tunnelhomes is 80% sell, 120% buy. Right.
Oh,
So if you want to buy a potion of healing, which they have in quantity, it'll be 120% a book. If you want to sell something to them, like a defending axe, it'll be 80% a book.
got it. But we don't think we have anything. We think we've sold it all.
Yeah, right. I've got a little bit of cash, so Jennifer, if you want to buy something and you don't have any, I got like 1,800 gold.
Okay. I've got a little bit too, so I'll just put in a small order for some stuff when I'm get a chance, Les.
Send me the order and I'll make it happen.
Cool.
All right,
Does
let's
he
switch
deal
over.
in,
Oh, go ahead.
information too? Does Tunnelhome deal in information as well?
He does. It's information that he would have, but yeah, there's to a certain extent, yes, he does.
Would he, what would it cost us to get information about a half work by the name of, what is it, Jalen? Is that right?
Oh, Jaos.
Jas.
Yeah.
He says, "Look, you know, I can provide information in this way. However, I have to put a few caveats on that. If this Jas that you're looking for is a customer of the collective, obviously I cannot provide any information at all. I can tell you he's a customer of the collective. I am somewhat hamstrung by the fact that if he is not a customer of the collective, my information is limited. If you did want me to contract with a second party as far as to try and find out any information that was available on this guy, I could make that happen for you. But that would be secondary to our if you did that, I would essentially become a broker, and I would contract with a second party to investigate this person and try and find them for you, and then provide you with the results should they exist.
Okay, well, we'll pursue other avenues to start, and if we end up in a dead end, maybe we'll come back and ask you about it.
Completely understand. Anything else for Tunnelhome?
I don't,
What's your-
for me, no.
I'm
What's
just
your
going to,
relationship with the king?
Whoa. That's
With
like
King
sex,
with King-
politics, and religion right there. Where are we going?
with King Steppengard?
Yes.
the next question is going to be, are you a top or a bottom?
Is he a member of the collective?
The king, by virtue of his status, is automatically a member of the collective. However, I can tell you that the king specifically has never taken advantage of that privilege. And frankly, as you might be aware, we are rapidly approaching those areas upon which I cannot speak. I must be discreet in my dealings with certain people, as you can imagine that I would be discreet in my dealings with you.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want about me. I don't care.
I already tweeted a lot of stuff about you, so.
You mean X?
Yeah, I don't care. It'll never be X to me. It's always Twitter. All right, so
I'm just going to introduce myself
okay.
and tell them that I'm a twin. And if I have been accepted, thanks to Vondrum, I would like to include my brother's name.
And so Tunnelhome grabs your hand and shakes it and says, "Oh yes, of course, your brother Arendar. He would be included in all this,
Whoa.
as
How did you know him?
as well as the sorcerer Titus."
Going on?
Okay, we don't want to be a part of this anymore.
Vondrum's vouchsafe extends throughout the entirety of your group.
You seem
But yeah,
better,
he knows both Arendar and Titus's name.
That
You
makes me
seem-
nervous.
you seem better at information than you let on.
He smiles sort of a wry smile and goes, "It is my business after all. I'll be blunt with you, Wraith. My once you entered the city, my operatives informed me that a group of adventurers had arrived in the context in which they'd arrived in. I expected that at some point you guys might be visiting me, and my expectations were
Accurate.
accurate.
Speaking of your employees, I guess, what
Mm.
have you, the one outside, the half orc,
Ah,
is there a
you mean-
problem if I
you
have
mean-
a conversation with him?
You mean Vis?
Yes.
You may have a conversation with him if you wish. I will tell you that both Seth and Vis's knowledge of local events will be minimal. In fact, if you're asking them about something specific to this town, the likelihood is that they will not know it. They are, how do I explain this? They are part of the collective. I do not own them. I have been issued them.
I see. My only question would be if there is a population of half-orcs in this city.
Oh, half-orcs. Well, there is. I mean, there are few, obviously, here. Half-orcs, as you know, do not appreciate cold weather, nor do they get along well with dwarves. But I would say that there is a small community of half-orcs. A couple of them are my clients. Obviously, I can't speak directly to that, but I would say
Correct.
probably in this town there are less than 100.
And
We
do
were
they
hoping for like less than 10.
do they congregate in a single area? Do they have a community?
Oh goodness, I'd have to look into that, but potentially, I would imagine that it is likely that they congregate locally. If you're willing to wait a day, I could find out that place for you.
I would be willing to wait a day.
All
And
right,
then I don't have to trouble your guard.
come and see me tomorrow, and I will see what I can find.
Thank you very much.
All right. Is there anything else that I can do for any of you? I noticed that you haven't sold anything or anything like that. I assume that may I assume that this is a introductory social call?
Absolutely. And we were more than impressed.
Mr. Vondram, thank you for coming. It is my great pleasure to entertain your custom and the custom of your friends from now on.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the Griffin. Titus, you and Arendar are downstairs. You enter the giant hall that we're looking at right now. The fire is blazing. People are rollicking. There's some music going on from upstairs. There's some guy that looks like he has some sort of bat, but it could be a guitar. We don't know. There are several giant ale barrels which are flowing. The beer is flowing. Your guess is there's close to 150, maybe even closing in on 200 people in this building.
And unfortunately, they are now out of rhubarb pie.
And they are out of rhubarb pie because this jackass right here ate the last slice.
No, ate the whole
And it's
pot.
only the two guys next to him, the barbarian and the furbolg, who are protecting him from the vituperative excess. They're like, there's this guy. You can see this guy over here. He's thinking, motherfucker. So he's probably plotting to catch the guy in the can. And he's going to slam his head against the basin a couple of times. The rest of these guys are like, rhubarb? Who fucking eats rhubarb? It's food for poor people.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you guys get down there. You find a couple of spaces at a table. The table itself has a bunch of other people who seem to know each other, and they're like, "Oh, who are you guys? Welcome to the free Gryphon." And a waitress comes over. Is like, "Don't mind him. Would you like a drink of some sort, Master Titus, Master Arendar?"
I think, Titus, we're we going to split up to try and double our chances of finding someone that knows something, or are we going to stick together?
No.
Oh, yeah, we should probably split up. I look like Mr. Rogers, kind of normal, but slightly dressy.
Okay.
I do
You
not look like
Riff
that at all.
Raff.
I look like a common guard or a thug or yeah.
Okay.
So I'm approachable, a little suave, but
All right. So you guys are
empathetic,
gonna split up, find different tables, go to the bar, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
talk about orcs, half orcs, dorks,
Orcs, dorks,
orcs.
not that different. All right. So Titus, let's do you first. So Titus, you are there. You're greeted by name by the waitresses. They find you a place at a table, that is not super crowded. You see a guy who has some very rich robes on. He lifts up a glass. He's like, "Grease you, sir." And then the other people are like, "Oh, hello. How are you?" And there's a dwarf there who's like, "Oh, how there? Just in town, are you?"
Please join us for our half-orc conversations.
We were just discussing the paucity of half-orcs in this town, and how when we meet them, we like to clunk their heads together like Mo from the Three Stooges.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I'd like to get involved
Indeed,
in
it's
that.
great fun.
Except for when they hit back. But other than that, it's great fun up until that point.
All right, so basically, these guys are. You found yourself at a table with what you take to be wealthy-ish but very bourgeois merchants, and they're talking about the latest deal, and they're talking like, well, I just brought in 40 tons of gold bullion, that kind of stuff. It's that kind of talk, and they're talking about their latest successes, and there's a coterie of various kinds of youngish, dwarvish, and human women who are sort of like tittering at the various kind of things, when they make these sort of terrible jokes. But they seem genuinely. I mean, they don't seem malevolent. You don't get a jackass vibe here. I mean, they're merchants and wealthy ones, frankly.
I feel like I should dash on a little cologne in the form of diplomacy.
Okay. All right. Give me a diplomacy roll before you enter into the conversation, just to see how this goes. Oh, a 33. So you pipe up. What do you say to these people?
Yeah, I'm
33.
here to find a little business myself. Not quite sure what I want to do, but I heard if you want to get into a business venture, this should be the place to go.
Well, with a 33, they both turn you and like, oh, well, of course they are. And they there's a round of introductions. And they're like, Titus, yes, I've heard of you. You're a young businessman brought to Bresk to deal in. What is it that you're dealing in exactly?
What don't I deal in?
An importer exporter, just like Art Vandelay from a place that I used to know. So they start talking about, well, there's various ways to raise money and buy stock. Bresk is a splendid place to do trade. And they're like, it's been a little bit dicey lately with the current unpleasantness from a political standpoint. From a merchant standpoint, it's been fantastic. Oh yes, it's been immensely profitable. You determine that at least one of them works for Magadan in at least a tertiary way. The other guy seems to be the human. The dwarf works for Magadan. The human seems to be an independent, but you definitely get the vibe that he's got a lot of contacts.
Okay. So I happen to come across a line of clothing, and I don't ask me to reveal my sources or how.
Oh, of course not. Of course not.
This is branded clothing and apparel that appeals very much to orcs, half orcs, their kith and kin.
Oh,
The problem is I'm
interesting.
having trouble finding a marketplace.
Well, it's going to be troublesome here in Bresk. Obviously, the orc markets are going to the orc and half orc markets are going to be in the valleys. Once you get out of the hills. Honestly, have you talked with the Sargabans at all? And the reason I ask this is because the Sargabans oftentimes will be obviously the black ships will go from Illadir to West Crown and points on the inner sea to provide a variety of raw materials. If you have an interesting clothing line and various textiles, I think that you might you might be well served by seeking out those particular markets in Elder, especially if you're talking about the orc and the half orc markets. And here's why. I think the reality is there's quite few. I think if you were going to, if you're talking about opening a shop here, you're talking about an infinitesimal fraction of that race exists here. The dwarves and the orcs have always been antipathic, despite commercial things. And the dwarf at this point goes, "Oh, that's not necessarily the case. I've done business with orcs and half orcs." He's like, "I'm obviously excluding present company, but here in Bresk, I think you're going to find that the market is quite small. If I was you and you have a very specific niche market for the orcs and half orcs, I would go to Eladir and I would talk to those markets there, specifically for the export market to Cheliax, because I know that in the cities of West Crown and you know, the other great cities of Cheliax, there is a significant orc and half orc population which may indeed find your wares to be immense. They're quite sophisticated in Eladir, and I think what you will end up finding is that they will be much better at ascertaining than the merchants here, at ascertaining the value of your stock, especially when you're talking about a niche market as you are indicating. And the dwarf is like, "Oh yes, I think that's quite the case. You definitely need to talk to Illidir." Now with the current the dwarf is like, "With the current unpleasantness, I'm not entirely sure that traversing. Do you have a great deal of stock? Yes, no. Nevertheless, traversing it from here to Eladir is going to be fraught with hazard. You'll have to find the right transit requests and all the passes. But the Sargavans have always been very trade friendly, so I don't imagine you'll have a great deal of problems with that, especially if you were able to grease the correct wheels. But that being the case, I think you'll find a ready market in Eladir. Oh yes, a ready market.
Yes, well, I'm a representative for Louis Vuitton and Gucci for orcs and half orcs, of course.
I've heard of this Gucci. I've heard good things. Now they are a textile maker of note down in the South. Yes.
Oh, worldwide, really. We are we are an exclusive trade with high fashions for particular markets. Do you know of any particular person or persons that I could contact directly?
Oh goodness, purses are purses. Well, frankly, and the one guy kind of looks at you. He's like, "You know, obviously, we might be in a position to help Mr. Titus here. I mean, he's obviously got a great deal of things going on, and oh yes, I think indubitably, I think we would be able to help him. Perhaps you would be interested in doing business with us."
Well, before we start talking business, let me buy a round for the table.
Oh, it did. Yes, of course. Thank you so much. And they order around, and it would be, it clocks in at about 6 gold pieces. They are drinking wine, expensive wine.
It's worth it, especially for a bite of that rhubarb pie.
I've heard the rhubarb pie is almost entirely eaten. There's one guy across the way.
Well, let's get him.
I was passing back from the water closet, and I saw that he'd had a whole piece just jammed right in his face. You know, sometimes I have to wonder about sometimes the rustics around here, and you know, one would think the door guards would be a little bit more thing. By the way, I haven't introduced myself. My name is Hamad U. That's the human. And the dwarf says, "Oh, and my name is Dormgred Stormpike. We're merchants here. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Master Titus."
And I'm relaying all this through message to everyone, so they know what's what, and they can scribe all this down. It is my pleasure to be of your acquaintance and to get to know you.
Oh, the pleasure is ours. So the half orc market, if you're still looking to offload any quantity of merchandise here, I have to be honest, I don't, depending on the quantity, I don't think you will find too much of a market, but there are some, and they kind of look at each other. It's like, do you think of that maybe that would. It's possible. Well, do you think is he still in town? I don't know. I mean, he's been around for a long time. Sorry, we're talking amongst ourselves. We're talking about Raguk. Raguk of the Split Fang tribe. He has been, we've had some dealings with him in the past. So Titus, as I'm sure you're aware, there are a significant population of orcs in the northwest Mwangi expanse, and we've both done business with them. Raguk has been in many ways instrumental. Oh yes, definitely instrumental in proceeding this. Obviously, we wouldn't necessarily want to go down there to some
I
orc
would say
tribe.
that this business is going to be rather lucrative, and I would be willing to pay, well, let's say a modest finder's fee for the right introductions.
Well, indeed, that does seem apropos. Oh, yes, indeed. I suppose we'd have to send some messengers to go. I believe he's still in town. Oh, yes, I think he's still in town. He's been dealing. Raguk, yeah. I think we can make that happen. Frankly, tell you what. Let us enjoy our evening tonight, and then we'll send a message out to Raguk first thing in the morning and see if we can't bring him here to have a discussion with you. Would that be satisfactory?
That sounds like an excellent plan.
Oh, fantastic! All right, well, then let's order another bottle of wine, shall we? And toast our newfound friendship and professional relationship that I suspect will be quite remunerous.
I was thinking of rhubarb pie.
I've heard it's gone. We'll go. All right. Do you have a knife on you? Let's go kill that guy.
Okay.
All
Now
right.
we're talking.
So Titus is doing that. So Arendar, what are you doing? You're going and talking to.
Well, he's gotten the message, right?
All right.
Messaging, so
Yeah, I'm doing a different route. I'm trying to get with the guy. So I'm trying to get with the common folk, so to speak. The ones
Okay.
who work, the blue collar group. And I'm just coming across, I want to get with someone, start drinking, and then just come across as, hey,
So-
I've been all over, I've seen all kinds of people, and oh, I used to work with this guy named Jay Ass that I hear is, here, not pushy, but to try to weave that in the conversation to see if anyone will bite.
Okay. All right. So you find yourself, most of the tables are taken up by obviously sort of very much bourgeois kind of people. So you find yourself naturally gravitating to the bar. You find an open spot, you sort of in there, and the guy next to you is like, "Hey, what's going on?" And, you're like, "Ah, yeah." It's like you get the impression that the bar is often. Well, not often, is largely reserved for the servants of the people who are staying here, who are also staying here, sort of the trusted servants. So you find yourself in relatively good company, and you can hear various conversations taking place along the bar that is like, "Oh yeah, my master did this," or "Oh yeah, Lord such and such did," I'm moving out tomorrow, that kind of thing. It's pretty easy to strike up a conversation with these guys. A lot of them are drinking ales, and you don't have to buy more than one round or two before the conversation stops. And it's you sort of work. I tell you what, give me a diplomacy check.
you mean Arendar?
Arendar, yeah, 23. All right. So as you sort of bring up the name Joss, most people are like, "Oh, have you ever heard of an? Do you talk about a half orc named Joss?"
Yeah.
Well, come.
It's more just brought up in like a story, like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I used to hang, whatever.
Used to hang with a half orc named Josh. I can't remember anybody like that guy. And the other guy down there, I can't remember anybody like that either. It's just I'm not sure. That kind of thing. Give me a perception check. 18. All right. So you're talking, and there's a couple of times you mentioned Joss this, Joss that. We had a good time. We wanted to get together. You happen to sort of like look around and you do a double take, and there's a guy down at the end of the bar, and he's looking at you. And he sort of looks at you, and when you look over at him, he goes, It's almost like he's eyeing you up, and then
Mhm.
you see him throw a silver coin on the bar. Bartender nods at him, and he slings the back of his ale backwards, and he goes out on the street.
Oh, I'm so following him.
Okay. You don't have to go far. You get out into the street and you can see him. He's maybe 10 feet down the way. He's got a pipe in his hand. You can see him. And this is interesting. He sort of flicks his thumb, and his thumb has a flame coming off of it. And he dips it into the tobacco and puffs the light and then goes, and he's like, looking for Jaws, the half orc.
So that's a cool trick.
It's not a trick, friend.
I'm hamming up.
What do they say? Tricks are what whores do for money.
Right. I'm hamming up to me not that intelligent and really just some bumpkin that worked for him or worked with him, and yeah.
So you worked with Joss back in the day, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Looking to find him again?
I don't know. It depends. What's that rowdy runt got up to?
I don't know. Certainly not a runt. If you're looking for work, though, I know there's work to be had.
Working for him or with him?
Could be either, could be both. I know some of my acquaintances have done certain things for him. I don't know anything about it. I've heard the name. I know that the word on the street has been that he's been looking for trustworthy people to work with. If you're somebody he's worked with in the past, maybe that's the way. I think you should go. I think you should go to a place called
Yes, we'll go there.
a place that I have forgotten, and I have to check my lists. The Velvet Rose. He's been hanging out there a bit. So one thing you might want to know is that he hasn't been flying the half-lord flag as high as one might. Man came into possession of a hat not long ago, but if you go to the Velvet Rose and ask about for him, and you wanna find him, likelihood is he'll be in there. And you know him, he'll spot you first.
Okay. I'll give him a hearty slap on the shoulder, thank him, and
It's all right. I just wasn't sure you wanted to talk about that in front of everyone.
gonna say, don't know what's going on here, but yeah, if you say so, I appreciate you looking out for me.
Got your back, son. All right, then. And he knocks out his pipe.
Okay.
Oh, I'll be going. Enjoy your day. And he walks on down the street.
Yep.
So
I might go my way, and then when he's not out of eye shot, then circle back to the place.
Okay.
I
I'll
turn
go
to
straight
my
up to
guys.
Andrew and say, "Hey, I think I got something." Not Andrew. Go back to Titus and say, "Hey, I think I've got something."
I've
All right.
been keeping up with messaging, and I turn to my drinking buddies and say, I've got a busy day tomorrow. It just crossed my mind. I've heard of a merchant who specializes in orc and half orc sales. Just the name Josh or Joe or Joss ring a bell?
Dormgred and Hamad kind of look at each other like, do you know anybody? Jay? Frankly, our connection with that particular market is Raguk. But I can ask when we reach out to Raguk tomorrow. We can ask him about him if this
It was just a curiosity.
Oh, of course, I understand completely. You know, these things get so muddied sometimes. You know, it happens a great deal. You know, that kind of thing.
Well, if you'll excuse me, gentlemen.
Of course, it's a pleasure to meet you. They both stand up, they both shake your hand, and they're like, I look forward to working with you increasingly in the future. I think we've got some ideas for a very profitable relationship. I'm very excited.
Excellent.
All right then. Evening then, gents, and that kind of stuff. All right, so we are 2 minutes away from 11. other questions, other things that you guys are going to do real quick?
So I assume at this stage, we'd probably all meet back in the inn
Mm-hmm.
in the evening and then kind of discuss what all of us have found or what we've done. And
Yep.
Yeah.
that way all of us are on the same page of what's going on. And then we'll figure out
Alright.
what we're doing next.
That sounds perfect. When we play next, we will talk about
Yep.
Balin's return and the information that he's found, and what comes next for you guys in the city of Bresk.
Cool.
Thanks, Les.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. My pleasure.
Thanks.
All right.
I know.
Have a great week, and we'll talk soon. Traveler next weekend.
Woo.
So that is going to be fun. We got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Have fun, guys. Bye.
All right. Good
Bye,
night,
guys.
everyone.
Hey, Les, keep me informed on the whatchamacallit, the trivia thing.
Oh, okay.
Like I said,
I'm probably gonna cancel it. I mean, you got this
Okay.
whole thing that happens twice a year. You're gonna be a part of that. You got to be a part of that. So,
Right.
I'm probably just gonna. I mean, frankly, I don't think that I can. I don't think I can fit out 10. I've got 6, but
Okay.
I don't think I can get the extra 4. So I'm probably gonna try and call them and try and cancel it tomorrow. So we'll see.
Okay.
I'll keep you in the loop, though.
Well, good luck with that then.
Yep.
So, all right, we'll see you, man.
All right. Take care, brother.